Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto went to meet Nagato before attack and understand his pain part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Nagato smiled as he hung his head for a little as he let his words sink into Naruto. Now to make up for my mistakes, he said as he slowly dragged out his arms from the walker's arm compartments, his limbs shaking and quivering. He clasped his hands together and began to gather his chakra. Nagato, please don't do this. It'll kill you, said Conan in an attempt to deter her lifelong friend from his decision. I'm sorry, Conan, I have made up my mind, and it cannot be changed, said Nagato as he closed his eyes. Geto Rina Tensei no Jutsu, he said hoarsely, his hands shaking as inside the huge crater formed by him, the king of hell rose from the ground and stretched its mouth open wide. It began to release multiple souls from its mouth, a circling cloud of green appearing over the village. Once the king of hell disappeared, Nagato dropped his hands and coughed. His once red hair turned deathly white. He knew he didn't have much time left, so he used his waning strength to give his final words to Naruto. Naruto, I am going to die knowing that I have at least righted one of the many wrongs I have committed. Please carry on my will and bring peace to the world. Conan and Amigakyu will be by your side. I'm going to join Jiraiya-sensei now. It's time my horrible chapter ends and your chapter begins. Thank you, Naruto Uzumaki. Farewell, breathed Nagato with his final breath before he smiled as his body became limp and his skin stone cold. Naruto wiped a single tear from his eye, with Konan lowering her head. The fake tree she had made with her paper began to disintegrate, the two of them making their way to ground level with Nagato's body wrapped in paper floating behind them. They returned to the spot where Nagato's Deva path, his and Konan's friend Yahiko, lie after his defeat. As the body began to get covered with papers, Naruto asked, "Where will you go?" The Akatsuki was Yahiko's dream, the clouds symbolizing the rain's endless tears. I'm going to return to my home, not leave the organization behind. Without Nagato, there's nothing there for me, said Konan as she lowered her hand, Yahiko's face being covered with papers and finishing the wrapping. She turned to Naruto and said, You have inherited Jiraiya-sensei's and Nagato's will. I and Aim will stay by your side always. Thank you, Naruto Uzumaki. She held her hand out, a banquet of flowers forming out of paper. Naruto grasped them and smiled. Farewell, Konan, he said, the former Akatsuki member smiling softly as she turned and began to walk away with Yahiko and Nagato in tow. Naruto looked down at the flowers and held them at his side as he left the rocky terrain for his home. He hoped that he would be getting a welcoming party and praise from the villagers for once. He never knew how wrong he was, and how things would have went from bad to worse. Naruto smiled softly as he rested the banquet of paper flowers before the small shrine to Jiraiya, resting in front of his last book, whom he was named after the main character of Tales of a Gutsy Ninja. Nagato is on his way, pervy sage, said Naruto as he wiped off his hands and walked away from the shrine. After hours of walking, he was about ready to collapse. He began to fall forward, but instead of hitting the grass, he fell down onto Kakashi's back. Lean on me, he said, Naruto smiling tiredly as he pressed against his sensei's back and allowed himself to be carried. They walked through the forest, silent at first until Kakashi asked, Did you meet with Pain? Yeah, I found out that what he said was true. He did train under Pervy Sage. Interesting, what did he say to you? All I remember seeing is a green aura-like cloud above the village. He used his remaining strength to revive everyone in the village. He died by righting his wrong, said Naruto, keeping the part about Nagato's pledge of loyalty to him to himself. An honorable thing to do, agreed Kakashi as he thought to himself of the events that had transpired. You've grown so much. Naruto, Minato, and Kushina would be proud. They turned around a tree to the entire village waiting for them. The council of Konoha stood at the head of the massive crowd, Danzo, Koharu and Hamura at the center. Naruto Uzumaki, a pleasure you could return, said Koharu, Kakashi setting down Naruto as they were joined by their friends. What is the meaning of this? Asked Kakashi, Yamato, and Guy standing beside him. We, the Council of Konoha, have decided that you have become too much of a threat to the village in light of your recent rampage. Naruto's hands balled into fists. Are you kidding me? After all I've done, you have this night to stay in the village, then by tomorrow morning you will be required to turn in your headband and leave the village, said Danzo, Kakashi stepping in front of Naruto. This is totally uncalled for. He just saved the village and you do this? Where's Tsunade? You have no right. Tsunade is out commission as of now due to chakra exhaustion. We've decided to take this action as a first step to the rebuilding of Konoha, without worry of its destruction once again, said Hamura, Guy being the one who followed after Kakashi. You can't do this to him. He's only 19. If the Akatsuki captures him, then so be it. That is one less threat to our village, said Danzo coldly, Naruto pushing past Kakashi. I can't believe this shit. After everything I've done, after the blood, sweat and tears I put down into this village just to be treated like this time and time again. I'm sick of it, Naruto said Sakura as she stopped towards him to grab his wrist, but he shook it off and glared at her. No, Sakura, this is the final straw. I'll leave if they don't want me here, if that will please their wise asses. He growled as he walked away. Kakashi, guy, Sakura and the rest of the Konoha 11 watching him go. Old self-absorbent bastards, I'm getting tired of this bullshit, grumbled Naruto, as he walked towards the giant crater that now occupied most of the village. Naruto waited for a response from the Kyuubi, but nothing came. Naruto managed to find his apartment building. Remarkably, it wasn't destroyed from the large-scale Shinra Tensei from Nagato's Deva path. He walked into the building and climbed the steps to his room, and upon opening it, he slammed it shut behind him. He proceeded to swear very loudly and curse Danzo and the council for wronging him like this. After everything I've done, he muttered before he ripped off his headband and threw it onto the ground, his bed having been crushed by an influx of debris. He settled himself down onto the ground and grabbed a futon and tried to go to sleep. Several hours passed and nighttime settled down onto the village, the people having houses made on the outside of the village, courtesy of Yamato and his wood release, for them to sleep in for the next few weeks or months. It was going to take a long time for Konohagakure to rebuild its might once again. Naruto was sitting face up on the ground, unable to go to sleep, which made him annoyed. So to pass the time, he was thinking, I wonder what would happen if I just left? Go rogue something. I shouldn't do that to Granny Tsunade, no Tsunade, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura and the others. That would make me a target for Akatsuki though because of the Kyuubi. Wait, what if? His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of a pebble hitting his window. He grumbled as he got up and walked towards the window, bracing himself for any punishment or foul-mouthed remarks he may receive. He opened the window but found nothing but the blanket of night and the occasional shinobi leaping across the rubble. Suddenly his senses told him to look up, and knowing that he should trust his gut feeling, looked up. His eyes widened and his mouth slightly opened in shock. Sup, Naruto? Weird seeing you again, huh? The person said with an obvious cocky smirk. The man was wearing an Akatsuki cloak and had a thick neck, no ears and no chin, his head bald except for 6 spike studs protruding from the skin. His skin was tan, and on his face was a half-circle ring piercing going from the bridge of his nose down the end, with 2 vertical studs protruding from both cheeks and a large cylindrical stud extending out from his chin. He couldn't mistake the purple rippled pattern of the person's eyes though and blinked. Nagato? What are you doing alive? Naruto asked while Shirado looked out into the village as it sat on the wooden pole and sighed. This isn't really a place for discussion, can I come in? He asked, his smirk disappearing and being replaced by a serious face. Naruto blinked again before he withdrew himself from the window, allowing the Azura path to slip into the apartment. Before you ask any questions, let me explain, said Shirado as he stood up to his full height of 6 feet 2 inches, towering over Naruto. First off, I am not Nagato. When he isn't controlling us, we each gain our own personalities, me having a cocky attitude. Second, I kinda am Nagato, considering he sent that last reserves of his chakra my way to revive me from the state you put me in, he said, Naruto pinching the bridge of his nose. Come again? You're saying that you're Nagato, and yet at the same time not? Pretty much yeah, nodded Shirado when his smirk resurfaced. So this is what he meant when he would be by my side even in death. If he was going to do this, why didn't you go with Konan? Asked Naruto. Konan is a capable ninja and can protect aim on her own. Besides, my main objective is to be your bodyguard, mentor and trainer, said Shirado as he crossed his arms. I think I understand now, said Naruto as he started to pace. Shirado followed him with his gaze and asked, is something wrong? Multiple things. 1. If you're going to be staying with me, you're going to have to change your appearance and get rid of the chakra receivers, said Naruto as he turned to Shirado, whose smirk grew larger. I can take care of that. Be back in a sec, he said as he approached the bathroom and closed the door, making sure to lock it. A few minutes passed and Naruto looked at the door as the knob jiggled. It opened and Naruto's jaw dropped as out watched a completely different person. Out came a woman about the same age as Naruto with flowing orange hair that reached down to her lower back, her slash-rain headband around her forehead. She had pierced ears, a black stud in each lobe, her rinnegan having a hinge over them to make it look like she had purple eyes, and a cocky smirk on her flawless face. Her Akatsuki cloak was also a bit smaller, fitting her more and allowing her form to be noticed a bit. She placed her hand on her hip and looked at Naruto. You like? Damn was all Naruto could say before an enormous blush spread across his face, prompting Shirado to snicker. Well, your appearance is down. All you need is clothes besides that cloak because 1, you would stick out like a sore thumb, and 2, if I remember correctly, when you were a guy you wore the cloak shirtless. This time it was Shirado's turn to blush, remembering that fact. She noticed his headband on the ground and picked it up. Why is this on the ground? She asked, Naruto sighing as he took it from her outstretched hand. Due to me being a danger to the village, I have to give this up tomorrow and leave the village forever, all thanks to that damn council, he growled. What? Even after what you did to Nagato and the others? That's harsh. Tell me about it, muttered Naruto as he dropped the headband to the ground again. So, what are you going to do? Honestly, I was thinking of not giving up my headband and going rogue. If the village doesn't want me, fine. I'm gone then. After all the hate I've gotten, even after all the shit I've had to go through to keep the peace, I'm starting to hate this hellhole. I'm actually glad that Nagato destroyed the village, said Naruto as he turned to gaze out the window into the night sky. Maybe we could go to Amagakure and meet up with Konan, Since you still don't know what to do, you can figure it out on the way while we train or something, suggested Naruto slowly nodding at the idea. That's a great idea. We'll leave at dawn. I've got some travel cloaks we can wear, said Naruto. There's one thing I need to ask. They'll probably recognize my name, so I need a new one. The one you give me I will keep for the remainder of my life, asked Naruto scratching his chin in thought. Akiyuri, said Naruto at the top of his head. Shirato tested the name out and smirked. Akiyuri, I like that name. Yeah, that will work, she said as Naruto tossed her one of his shirts and an extra futon. Wear this until we get you some proper clothes. I still feel uncomfortable sleeping with a cough girl, said Naruto while blushing, Shirato sniggering again before she turned to unbutton her cloak. Naruto quickly turned around as his blush turned deep red, Shirato smirking as she noticed this action. Such a nice gentleman, she thought, her thoughts now more feminine than masculine due to her recent transformation. You can look now, she said, Naruto turning to see Shirato in her black pants and the white t-shirt, some of her cleavage being seen since the shirt was a little big. Naruto laid down on the ground, Akiyuri laying down beside him, her back to his, and they slowly drifted off to sleep. Naruto gazed at his headband before darkness took him. Morning. Naruto awoke with a yawn, his internal clock ringing as he got up and rubbed his eyes. Akiyuri was already waiting for him with a thick black traveling cloak already on, the large hood pulled back. Naruto quickly got dressed and put on his cloak, picking up his headband last. He looked at it before a scowl appeared on his face as he took a kunai to slash a deep mark straight through the leaf symbol. Goodbye Konoha, and good riddance. I'll be back, said Naruto as he tied the headband around his head and let his rage flow free for once. Instantly, his eyes widened as he appeared in the oh-so-familiar dark hallway home to his tenant, the Kyuubi. What do you want? Asked Naruto as he turned and shared his scowl with the demon fox. Listen, I know how you feel, but I'm feeling some newfound hatred within you. Yeah, so what? I hate Konoha now, said Naruto as if it didn't matter. I have many things I can teach you, powerful jutsu that only a Bijuu can teach their Jinchuriki. I know you hate me and I hate you, but it seems we have a common enemy. How about we put aside our differences and watch Konoha burn together? Offered Kyuubi, his red eyes glaring down onto Naruto. You know what, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. I like that a lot. What's the first step to it? Smiled Naruto as he looked up to Kyuubi, who smiled devilishly. The first step is this, allow me to introduce myself. The name's Kurama, and you and I were going to get along just fine. Naruto! Shouted Akiyuri, Naruto blinking as he was shaken awake by her. What happened? Was it the Kyuubi? She asked before Naruto glanced towards her, his eyes now a dark red with slit pupils. His name is Kurama, and everything's just fine, smiled Naruto, flashing his now sharpened teeth. Akiyuri shrank back a bit at first, then smirked. Well then, let us be on our way then. Kakashi's temporary house. Kakashi was a wreck, emotionally only since what the council had said to Naruto. God damn it! He's just a kid, Akatsuki could go after him, yelled Kakashi at no one in particular. He got up and sighed as he put on his flak jacket and headband, drawing it over his Sharingan eye. I guess I'll go meet with Naruto and tell him goodbye, he sighed as he walked to the door of the wooden house given to him by Yamato. He walked through the cleared-out gates of the village and entered the carved-out road through the rubble surrounding the crater. He slowly approached Naruto's apartment, and sighed again as he climbed the steps to the entrance. He walked inside and took the familiar route up to Naruto's room. He stood before the door and knocked, saying, Naruto, it's me, Kakashi. I came to say goodbye. He waited for a response before he knocked again, expecting Naruto to open the door half asleep. He became serious when he tried the handle, and was surprised to find that it was unlocked. The door creaked open, Kakashi standing shocked at the abandoned apartment of the usually happy and obnoxious Jinchuriki of the village. Oh no, stuttered Kakashi as he sprinted down the hallway away from the room. He leaped away from the apartment towards the temporary command center of the village outside the village and burst through its doors, surprising the village's Jonin commander Shikakunara, Yamato, Guy, NBU commander Shiozaki Oru and other Jonin assembled in the room. What is it, Kakashi? Asked Yamato, seeing the frantic expression on his friend's face. Naruto's gone. Please don't remind us, Kakashi, we already know this, said Guy, Kakashi shaking his head violently. No, I mean he's gone. His room is barren and I don't think he ever turned in his headband, or the council would have announced it. He's gone rogue, said Kakashi, the air of the room instantly turning into shock. What? Why? Questioned Shikaku when Kakashi approached the group. I don't know, but I think it's due to what he said yesterday. Guy, you remember? Yeah, he was really pissed, agreed Guy. Damn council, leave it to them to screw up even more shit in this village, muttered Shiozaki. Near the gate, Naruto and Akiyuri, unnoticed by any so far, had made it from Naruto's former apartment to just a couple of meters away from the gate. He had taken everything he owned, all the money he had and the tools he possessed. We're almost there. If anyone stops us, do not hesitate to cut them down, said Naruto to Akiyuri, the former Azura Path nodding. In just a single day he's changed a lot, he seems almost like you, Nagato, thought Akiyuri with a glance to Naruto, who kept his head down to hide as much of his features as possible. Since his chakra had merged with Kurama's, his features had permanently changed, with his eyes becoming those of his bijou and his whisker marks becoming the thicker and more bestial form. They were so close to freedom, but here comes the inconvenient guards that just happened to see them. "Hey you two, why do you need to leave the village?" asked one of them, the other walking around the two to stand behind Akiyuri. "Oh, we're just passing through," said Naruto, the Chunin instantly recognizing the voice. "Naruto? Is that you?" Naruto smiled evilly as he looked up at the man, who instantly became terrified at his face. "Hello and goodbye." Naruto and Akiyuri moved as one, Naruto grabbing the man before him by the throat and ramming his now clawed hand through his chest while Akiyuri spun around and stabbed the other guard through the gut with a curved blade from her wrist. They quickly left the scene, everyone unaware of the little encounter. They stopped their flight 3 miles away from the village and slowed to a walk. "Akiyuri, you can dispel the henge over your eyes, it is not needed anymore," said Naruto as he wiped the blood from his hand in the grass. "So now we go to aim?" she asked as her Rinnegan reappeared. "Yes, and with Konan and Amigekure on our side, we'll make Konoha burn for their sins." On the third day of being away from Konoha, Naruto and Akiyuri stopped to rest for a while. They had stopped at a small town down the road and had gotten new clothes for the both of them. Naruto now wore a black skin-tight suit with a face mask that covered his fanged mouth along with a black flak jacket similar to the ones worn by Otogeku shinobi. Akiyuri was wearing, underneath the black traveling cloak and her Akatsuki cloak, a sleeveless black shirt showing off some of her cleavage and the standard-issue navy blue pants and stockings of the Akatsuki. "How about some sparring?" asked Akiyuri, Naruto nodding as he took off his cloak and flak jacket. He stretched his arms before settling in a low stance, with his right arm held back and tucked under his armpit, and his left arm extended out, fingers drawn back. Akiyuri smirked as she cracked her neck and knuckles before drawing off her 2 cloaks, revealing the now formed wrapped-up serrated blade tail around her waist. It unfurled as she smirked. "Begin." Mountain's graveyard. The crack job idiot of the Akatsuki, Tobi, was sitting in a dark room within his base of operations, waiting for a significant person to show up. A green flytrap morphed out of the ground, Tobi stirring as Zetsu appeared from the green tendrils. "What's the news with Nagato?" asked Tobi, his annoying high-pitched voice gone with the wind. "Nagato appeared to be defeated by the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, but when I honed in on them, I found out he gave his life by using the samsara of heavenly life technique. He betrayed us, and Konan defected. She's in Amigekure as of now," reported White Zetsu. "Damn alright, keep watch over Sasuke. I shall go take care of this," said Tobi as he opened his visible eye, his Sharingan glowing in the darkness. "What are you going to do, Tobi?" asked Black Zetsu as the masked man stood up. "No one crosses Madara Uchiha and lives," growled Tobi as his body started swirl into his mask's eye hole, the man eventually vanishing. Border of fire and rain country. After sparring for several hours, Naruto and Akiyuri continued their travel to Amigekure to meet with Konan. Suddenly Akiyuri stopped, her eyes narrowing. "What's wrong?" asked Naruto as he glanced back at his companion. "Something isn't right in aim. I think Konan might be in trouble." "Let's hurry then." They broke off into a sprint to try and get to Konan as soon as possible. Amikage Tower. Konan stood outside of the tower that Nagato used to sit on and gaze out over the village, letting the rain run down her cloak and skin. She heard a swirling sound behind her, and she turned to see Tobi glaring at her. "Looking for something?" she asked. "Yeah." "Where did you put Nagato's corpse?" asked Tobi while narrowing his eye. "You won't find him here," said Konan as her body dispersed into a multitude of paper butterflies. Tobi sighed as he spiraled away. He reappeared on a broken slab of concrete, poking out of a graveyard of ruined buildings flooded by a gigantic lake. Konan formed across from him on a giant pipe and glared at him. "The Rinnegan, it seems you aren't going to cooperate and tell me where you hid Nagato," said Tobi calmly. "I knew that you would appear before me. I've been waiting for you, so I could stop you," said Konan with the utmost seriousness, Tobi just brushing off the threat. "Just because you were a former comrade does not mean I'll show you mercy. The Akatsuki does not put up with traitors. Understand?" threatened Tobi with a hiss in his voice. "Crystal," growled back Konan. "I have one question. What was it that convinced you two to betray me?" "You and Nagato both approved of my Eye of the Moon plan," asked Tobi, Konan's face hardening. "If you two lost to Naruto Uzumaki, then it couldn't have been helped. But Nagato sacrificed his life using the samsara of heavenly life technique for Naruto's sake," said Tobi before he said angrily, "That jutsu was to be used for my sake." But even Zetsu did not see what made Nagato change his mind. "Do you really believe that Naruto Uzumaki is that special?" Nagato decided to put his faith into him, so I shall as well. "He'll bring peace to the world," said Konan as she raised her hand towards Tobi, papers peeling back from her body and cloak. "Not you," she growled, Tobi chuckling. "Ha, you bare your fangs at me, yet you still wear the cloak. Perhaps you missed the Akatsuki?" The Akatsuki was founded by Yahiko. The red clouds on these cloaks are a symbol of the tears Amigekure wept after all the wars it witnessed. "You're just riding on the Akatsuki coattails. These cloaks represent justice to us, they don't belong to you," said Konan, pausing for a second. "And the Rinnegan belonged to Nagato, an AIM ninja," His eyes don't belong to you. His eyes are our country's treasure," yelled Conan as multiple paper shurikens flew at Toby, the man chuckling again as they passed right through him. "Kage, wrong on both counts, my dear. I may as well enlighten you since you are about to die," he said, Conan raising her eyebrow in confusion. The rain continued to pour down onto them while Toby's eye widened as he said, "First off, I was the one that spurred Yahiko into creating Akatsuki." And he lowered his head and glared at Conan. "I was the one that gave Nagato the Rinnegan," he revealed, Conan's mouth slightly ajar as she was taken aback in shock. "So really I'm just taking back what's mine to begin with." "Those eyes are the sole property of Madara Uchiha," said Toby, a chakra flare making Conan shrink back a bit. "You were just a foolish little girl who knew nothing, but you're the foolish little girl that knows where Nagato's Rinnegan is hidden, and all I have to do is capture you. Don't underestimate the visual prowess of an Uchiha's eyes, child," ridiculed Madara. Conan's shock disappeared as her paper angel wings formed and she flew at Madara, a flock of papers all around her like a storm. As the papers started to fly through him, he thought, "She's trying to confine me so I can't get away when I solidify smart girl." She appeared right before him and he timed it when he was in a space where no papers were in him and acted upon it. He grabbed her by the throat tightly and began to suck her into his eye. "You're finished." Suddenly he noticed explosive tags mixed in with the papers he was sucking in. She mixed explosive tags in with her papers, another smart move. "I'll drag you into the next world with me," shouted Conan as the tags all detonated, a huge explosion blanketing the area. Conan's flashback. Yahiko, Conan and other members of the original Akatsuki were in a small room, some of them sporting bandages and gauze pads on their bodies. Yahiko was sitting down next to a table with 2 maps of Amigakure and Rain Country beside his arm, Conan standing beside her. "More of our members in Sector 7 have fallen," reported a worried Conan, Yahiko sighing. "I'll go and do some recon this afternoon. This whole area is turning into a guerrilla war. We've got to make a move," said a younger Nagato, a rain headband wrapped around his forehead. "You should rest, Nagato. You've been running yourself ragged," said Yahiko. "I but," sputtered Nagato, Yahiko's face hardening. "I mean it, rest. I'll go," he ordered as he got up and walked past Conan out of the room. Outside it was pouring rain, Yahiko stepping out onto a balcony and looking up at the clouds. Conan appeared in the small opening behind it from the room and said, "Be careful, Yahiko. You don't have to see me off. Go check on Nagato's injuries," said Yahiko with a glance back at Conan. "He's the most vital member of the Akatsuki. He's the one that's gonna change this country and the whole world. All your concern and worry should be for him, but you're just as important. Everyone in Akatsuki joined because they care deeply for you, Nagato most of all," said Conan, Yahiko lowering his gaze from the clouds. "Nagato is going to become the bridge that leads us all to true peace," he said, clenching his fists, "and my job is to be the support that holds up that bridge." "Yahiko," said Conan as he looked up at the sky again and opened his hands while raising them a little. "Our country's still crying, still enduring all this pain. I used to hate it, but now I want to save it, from the bottom of my heart. It's like the crybaby I used to be, I just can't leave it," smiled Yahiko with a slight chuckle. Then he jumped off the edge of the balcony, Conan shouting behind him, "Yahiko!" By then he was out of earshot. "Be careful," she sighed before another voice pierced the air. "No. He's the true bridge to peace. His will itself leads us," said Nagato as he stood in the hallway beside Conan with the other members. "We all believe in Yahiko," said one of them, his left arm in a sling. "Let's go, everyone," ordered Nagato as he and Conan led the group out of the building after Yahiko. And flashback. Burnt ashes and papers floated to the churning water of the lake and peppered its surface. A burnt patch of an Akatsuki cloak floated among the paper, a bit of red in the water beside it. "I took you too lightly, you were one of the original members of Akatsuki after all," said Madara while kneeling on the surface of the water, half his mask broken off, revealing half his cheek and part of his bandaged forehead, along with his narrowed Sharingan eye. The right side of his cloak down to the waist was burned off, with his entire right arm missing, leaving the tattered remains of the black shirt he wore underneath. Conan's upper body and her head were floating in the air as paper floated towards her to manifest her body. "You tried to self-destruct and kill us both the moment I tried to suck you in, but you failed. I was faster than you. I sucked up the explosion, well, most of it, anyways. I ended up saving you too. I believe a thank you is in order," said Madara as he stood up and glared at the kunoichi. "Are you done with your little master plan?" he asked her. "One question, Madara. What? Do you understand why we betrayed you? Do you know why we have faith in Naruto?" asked Conan, Madara's eye narrowing. "Well, now that's your problem. Besides, Naruto is just a naive child, chasing after an immature dream. He was just like Deidara, immature and cocky. I can see how Nagato was swayed by the thought of true peace and hope." "But you too, Conan?" questioned Madara. "I realized something after meeting Naruto," began Conan as the thoughts of her last meeting with Naruto came back to her. "Where will you go?" The Akatsuki was Yahiko's dream, the clouds symbolizing Aim's endless tears. "I'm going to return to my home and leave the organization. Without Nagato, there's nothing there for me." She turned to him after finishing wrapping up Yahiko's body. "You have inherited Yahiko's and Nagato's will, so I and Aim will stay by your side always. Thank you, Naruto Uzumaki." Konan's left arm reformed and she pointed her outstretched fingers at Madara and yelled, "Naruto is the flower of light, you are darkness. And only flowers can wilt in a world of darkness." Madara's eyes widened at the flare of chakra beneath him, so he looked down and saw the water recede and a multitude of paper appear and crack open, forming a massive 15-mile-long crevice in the lake, the bottom unfathomable. He started to fall down into the crevice, papers spilling over the side and floating all around him. Madara quickly put his remaining hand to his mask and started to spiral himself away, Konan quickly catching this and yelling, "I won't let you get away." Explosive tags attached themselves to Madara's body, making him quickly stop the jutsu as the tags detonated, engulfing him in another explosion. "Your teleportation failed. I've been paying attention to you all this time," said Konan, knowing that the ancient Uchiha could hear her. "When you suck yourself in, you always materialize yourself. And it takes longer to suck yourself in than another person or object." Madara dropped out of the smoke cloud generated from the explosion, fine besides the injuries he received earlier. Madara glared angrily up at her, his thoughts racing. "If I didn't stop teleporting and shift to the side to evade the explosion, things would have turned nasty. Furthermore, you are only able to stay intangible for 5 minutes," continued Konan, Madara looking around frantically at the stack upon stack of papers around him. "What is this?" he thought before his eye widened at the explode kanji on each and every one. "They're all paper bombs?" he thought outrageously before he glared back up at Konan. "I amassed 600 billion paper bombs in order to kill you and they'll continue to explode for 10 minutes. She announced as she swung her hand down. Madara acted quickly as he grasped the other half of his mask and snapped it off as the paper bombs ignited. His left Sharingan glowed as the crevice of paper bombs all simultaneously exploded, a huge shockwave blowing back the water and sending a huge gust of wind blasting past Konan. As the explosions raged on, Konan thought to the words the Uchiha had spoken to her earlier about the Akatsuki and Nagato's eyes. "I was the one that spurred Yahiko into creating the Akatsuki. And I was the one who gave Nagato the Rinnegan." "That can't be true, he never touched Nagato. And I don't even know when we met him," thought Konan as the explosions continued to rage. Both Yahiko and Nagato were acting on their own free will, she thought when her body shook as the memories of that day came back to haunt her again. All she saw was Yahiko stab himself on the kunai Nagato held at his side, making the man's eyes open wide in shock. "They were not your pawns," thought Konan as Yahiko's body leaned up against Nagato's and he whispered, "You and Konan must do everything you can do to survive." Whichever way they chose, they both fought and died for their beliefs. That is why their will is connected. "I will not let you interfere," thought Konan as the explosions finally died down, the steam rising from the filling crevice blanketing the area. Konan groaned as she fell towards the water, her body reforming as she touched down on its surface and laid on her hands and knees, hunched back. She was breathing hard from the extent of her chakra and felt exhausted. "My Kami no Shisa no Jutsu has come undone. I didn't expect my Kami Asha no Jutsu to take this much chakra," she said to herself as her beloved blue origami flower in her hair fell apart while she stood up. "At least Madara is dead, right?" asked the ominous voice behind her, Konan's eyes widening in fear as she felt his evil chakra. In the shrine where she had laid Nagato and Yahiko's body, some of the paper flowers fell apart, the pieces of paper forming them drifting to the ground. Blood dripped into the water off the tip of the pole protruding from Konan's stomach, the end part gripped tightly in Madara's hand. "How? You should be dead," stuttered Konan fearfully as she glanced down at the bloody pipe emerging from her own body. "I ran the simulations over and over. I was sure this sequence would work," she said as blood started to run down her chin from her mouth. "Izanagi, a technique unique only to the Sharingan. In exchange for the sight in that eye, the caster can make death a reality. It's a kinjutsu of the Uchiha clan," explained Madara as his left eye began to close unwillingly. "Only those who possess both the powers of the Uchiha and Senju can cast this technique," finished Madara as his left eye closed, never to open again. "Uchiha and Senju? Both powers? But that's the power of the Sage of Six Paths," answered Madara, Konan trying to deny this. "You do not have this power." Madara thought for a moment before speaking. "Kage, since you are a dear and former comrade, I will tell you a little about my jutsu and myself. The Izanagi jutsu is simply the practical application of what you already know as the Sage of Six Paths Banbutsu Soso. Originally, the Uchiha and Senju were one and the same. The Sage of Six Paths was their founder, and he passed on his blood and power to these two. He also created many things. The power of Yin chakra, based upon mental energies that control imagination that can be used to create form out of nothing. And the power of Yang chakra, based upon physical energies that govern life that could be used to instill life into those forms. The Biju are one such example. He used the powers of Yin chakra and Yang chakra to create the Biju from the chakra of the Jubi," lectured Madara, leaving Konan in confusion and shock. "The incarnation of imagination into life, that is Izanagi." "Just who are you?" asked Konan, absolutely terrified by Madara. "The world knows Madara Uchiha was the one who lost to Hashirama Senju. What is the truth? The victor is the one who can gaze into the future. The real challenge begins from now. The previous battle was merely to obtain his power," said Madara as he gathered his breath. "I am Madara Uchiha, and I possess the power of Hashirama Senju. I am the second sage of 6 paths. I am unique. Unable to master Hashirama's power, some have tried to use an imperfect Izanagi, and failed," said Madara, referring to Danzo, who had implanted 11 Sharingan eyes and Hashirama's DNA into his right arm. Konan stepped forward and grunted as she stumbled off the pipe, clutching her gut with both her arms. Blood dripped from the hole in her back and gut, spilling down her cloak and into the water. "In the afterlife, the two of you can commiserate about being fooled by Naruto's nonsense," said Madara as Konan painfully walked forward, barely keeping herself on the top of the water with the little chakra she had left. "There is no such thing as true peace. There is no such thing as hope. Nagato only believed in Naruto because he wanted to find solace within his pathetic existence," hissed Madara, Konan's eyes widening as she stopped, her heart torn in two. She held her hand out as the rain began to settle, the clouds starting to part. She looked up in awe as sunlight began to beam down onto Amigakure. Madara looked in awe as well, the gradient light warming his face. "The rain in Amigakure is never ending. What is this?" he questioned before his attention whipped back to Konan. "Nagato. Yahiko. I too believe in Naruto. It's his turn now," she yelled as she turned around, the adrenaline pumping in her wiping away the pain. "He is the bridge to peace. And I shall be his pillar," she yelled as a small rainbow shone in the sky above the lake and village as papers began to float around her. She thought back to Nagato's corpse resting in the shrine, his Rinnegan gazing on from his empty face. "Thank you, Nagato. Your death has made my dream even clearer to me," she thought as a pendragon of violently whirling papers formed above her raised hands. "I am expendable, a mere flower. I shall take you with me," said Konan as Madara narrowed his eye. He sprinted towards her, Konan bringing her arms down and throwing the pendragon at him. He leaped and spun around, landing on the water's surface and continuing his sprint towards her. As she formed another pendragon, the first circled back with a plume of water following behind it and sped for Madara's back. She threw the second and Madara's eyes widened as the two collided, an explosion of water covering him. Konan looked up to see Madara had leapt up away from the attack and was falling back down towards the water. She quickly formed multiple paper shuriken and launched them at him. He blocked the first, the hard-as-steel paper shuriken grinding against the metal pole until he deflected it away, following with multiple swipes to deflect the others. One cut right through the pole, slicing it in half. Madara spun it around in his hand and held it backhanded as he deflected the next volley of shuriken. He dropped down right in front of Konan, surprising her. He gave her no time to attack by throwing his now free hand at her and slamming his hand into her throat, effectively capturing and binding her with his inhuman strength. "You called me darkness, well then, I shall make you wilt, little flower," said Madara as he held Konan in the air as she choked and struggled to break free. "I will make your little rainbow, this 7-colored bridge of peace, and your hope and plunge it all into darkness." Madara focused his gaze on Konan and narrowed his eye. "When this genjutsu is over, your life will end. But not before I make you tell me where you hid Nagato's body," said Madara as his grip tightened, Konan coughing and whimpering before her hands became limp and fell to her sides. Her eyes began to close as Madara's eye started to slowly spin, the genjutsu taking effect. "Goodbye, Konan," said Madara as Konan began to black out. Suddenly a red blur flew right in front of Madara, a pair of red eyes glaring at Madara before an explosion of blood covered Madara and Konan. Madara screamed and fell back while clutching the bloody stump that was his left arm. Konan fell back into Akiyuri's arms while Naruto slid across the surface of the lake on all fours, a huge spray of water behind him. He was in his version 1 three-tailed mode. In his morin was the tattered and bloody sleeve that contained Madara's right arm. "Konan's barely conscious, she needs medical help fast," said Akiyuri. "Alright, I'll make this quick," said Naruto as he spat out the arm. Madara glared angrily at Naruto and snarled, "You little pest. I'll kill you for that. How can you do that when you can't even cast a jutsu?" smirked Naruto, reminding Madara that he now had no arms. "I don't need arms to defeat you, boy. I am Madara Uchiha, the greatest Uchiha to ever live," announced Madara, Naruto laughing as he stood up, wiping the blood from his mouth. "Madara Uchiha, eh? Hard to believe since I've seen the real deal, and you aren't him," said Naruto as his three-tailed form disparate while he crossed his arms. "What are you talking about? You aren't Madara Uchiha, you're an imposter," said Naruto with a smirk, Akiyuri's eyes widening. "An imposter?" she asked in disbelief. "You make a bold statement, child. Amuse me with your facts," said Madara while narrowing his eye at him. "First off, Madara Uchiha possessed the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, something you don't have. Second, Madara could form the perfect Susanoo, something you can't do. And 3, you don't possess his malevolent chakra. Kurama can sense yours does not match the real Madara Uchiha's," said Naruto, Madara's eyes widening. "And just who might this Kurama be?" he asked with a scoff. "The Kyuubi, the same bijou he controlled to fight Hashirama Senju. He never forgot his chakra, nor did he forget yours, Obito Uchiha," said Naruto, Madara growling at him. "You shut your mouth." "What? I was only telling the truth," smirked Naruto. At this point Madara, or now Obito, was fuming. "Choose your next words carefully, lest I kill you on the spot," threatened Obito, his Sharingan blazing with fury. Kaijatan Akuma Chakra Nami, said Naruto without forming any hand signs, a red wave of intense chakra exploding outward from his body and passing through Obito, Akiyuri, and Konan. Was that supposed to scare me, boy? Asked Obito with a smirk. No, this is, smiled Naruto as he brought his right arm back and swept his claws straight through Obito's gut, leaving 5 deep gash marks in his flesh and drawing a lot of blood. Obito coughed as he collapsed to one knee, glaring at Naruto in disbelief. Impossible, my Kamui. Your Kamui is nullified, thanks to the jutsu I cast. What? Demonic release uses tailed beast chakra molded with yin-yang chakra. All other nature forms are nullified against yin-yang chakra, including those of the Sharingan, explained Naruto, with Obito growling furiously. Any last words? Asked Naruto as he stepped towards Obito. Damn you, Naruto! He snarled, Naruto smirking as he formed a crimson-red Rasengan. Please call me Akuma, he said before he rammed the Rasengan into Obito's gut, making the man grunt as the swirling ball of energy ripped apart the skin and eventually bones. An explosion of more blood followed after Naruto pressed his arm through Obito's gut and split the man in half. His legs and waist were flung backwards while his torso and head dropped down before Akiyuri. As the water became blood-red, Akiyuri looked up at Naruto with fear and awe. He turned to her and the bloodlust in his eyes instantly disappeared, replaced by care and worry. Are you two alright? He asked as he ran over to them. I'm fine, but Konan needs help fast, said Akiyuri, Naruto nodding as he kneeled beside Konan. He wiped the blood from her lips and spotted the wound instantly. He blinked several times and diagnosed, she has internal bleeding and her windpipe is almost crushed. Stand back, I'll handle this, said Naruto, Akiyuri complying by standing up and taking a few steps back. Naruto concentrated as he put his hands over the wound in Konan and said, Kaijatan Aku no Kasiaika. Red demonic chakra molded over Naruto's hands as he pressed them onto Konan's stomach, allowing it to flow into her body. Almost instantly, the hole began to heal, and her insides began to as well. Her appearance changed as well as a result of the chakra entering her body. She developed black streaks in her blue hair, and some paper still folds out from her arm turned into a dark grayish-black color. Konan coughed as she awoke, Naruto helping her up. You okay, Konan? He asked while Akiyuri stood beside him. Yes, and thank you for saving me, Naruto. And this must be? Asked Konan when Akiyuri smirked. Konan, I'm hurt that you don't remember me. Shirado? Yup, to blend in more easily. Had a little gender switch and got rid of most of the piercings in my body. Oh, and my name is Akiyuri now, smiled Akiyuri, Konan blinking before she understood what she meant. So, why DS you guys come here? She asked Naruto. We came here to take refuge here so we can plan Konoha's burning. What? I thought you loved Konohagakure? Questioned Konan before Naruto showed he his slash-leaf headband. Not anymore, said Naruto coldly, Konan nodding. Of course then, I have another idea now as well. Now that he's dead, Naruto motioned to Obito. Someone's gonna have to kill his lackey Kabuto and tell the Ninja Alliance that the 4th Shinobi World War is called off, said Naruto, Akiyuri smirking. I'll take care of Kabuto, you can tell the Kage about this. And then what do we do next? Asked Konan as she looked from Akiyuri to Naruto. I become the Akatsuki's new leader. From Amagakure, Naruto departed to Lightning Country on his own, with Konan remaining in aim and Akiyuri going off towards the mountain's graveyard to deal with Kabuto. Naruto ran through the forests of Rice Country, still remembering Orochimaru, that damn snake pedophile. It left a sour taste in his mouth. He had changed once again while inside Amagakure, now wearing a kitsune mask, Mena's mask from Road to Ninja, that hid his face, his own Akatsuki cloak, and 3 piercings in each ear to match the 3 black studs now embedded into his right forearm. He felt a slight buzz in his arm due to the chakra receivers being implanted into his body. Once your body adapts to the unusual chakra feel from the receivers, the buzz will go away, said Kurama, answering Naruto's unanswered question. Inside the hallway that Kurama had made his home for 19 years, the scenery had changed drastically. The former dark hallway was now lit brightly, and the golden gate that had once kept him sealed and trapped within Naruto was non-existent. Naruto was standing before Kurama, deep in the recesses of his mind. Naruto, is something on your mind? Asked Kurama, feeling concerned for his friend and Jinchuriki. No, Kurama, it's just that I've been thinking about the friends I left behind in Konoha, the ones that actually did care. When we go to burn Konoha to the ground, it will be your choice on if they live or die, said Kurama, Naruto nodding. And another thing, I've already began to feel the effects of merging our chakras together. My ears feel pointier, my senses are heightened, and my teeth sharper, said Naruto, Kurama smirking. That's because with doing so is not only changing your appearance, but your entire body and chakra network as well. You're being transformed into a half-human, half-Bija hybrid Naruto, more specifically half-human, half-demon fox. You'll be the first one ever, smiled Kurama, Naruto smirking at the idea of being half-Bija, half-human and half-demon fox. I like the sound of that, smiled Naruto evilly, Kurama returning the gesture. When you have fully matured, you will be a full-on fox demon, said Kurama, Naruto's grin growing wider with each passing second of the idea. Here we are, Kumogakure, said Naruto as he perched himself at the top of one of the steep mountains surrounding Kumogakure, gazing down onto the village. He spotted the headquarters for the Allied Shinobi forces and leaped off from his perch towards the building. Meeting room, Allied Shinobi Army HQ. Tsunade sat at the table with the other Kage and the samurai leader of the Land of Iron, Mifune. She was barely listening to the conversation on the outside. Her concern was on the inside and her deep worry for Naruto. Asterisk, wherever you are, Naruto, please be safe, she thought before the breakage. Glanced her direction and asked, is something the matter, Hokage? Tsunade snapped out of her trance and said, yeah, I'm fine. I don't believe you, said Tsunade, sighing as the others looked at her. Well, I might as well get this off my chest. After the Akatsuki leader Pain attacked my village, I was left in a coma due to exhausting all mi chakra, and unbeknownst to me, Danzo and the council deemed our Jinchuriki Naruto Uzumaki a quote-unquote threat to the village and banished him. Revealed Tsunade, Gara being the one to react the worst to. They do realize that if Akatsuki captures him, they'll be one step closer to achieving Madara's goal, said Gara, trying his best to keep his emotions in check. They do, said Tsunade, Anoki groaning in frustration. Speaking of Danzo, what happened to him after the Kage summit? Asked Mei. Might Guy's team recovered him after he escaped from Madara and Sasuke Uchiha. Right now he's back in Konoha and would be liked up if not for the damn council, growled Tsunade. Damn it, if B is captured by that Uchiha then it's all over. Cursed before he felt a new presence in the room, the others noticing it as well. We have an unwelcome guest, said Gara as he looked up first, followed by Mei, then Anoki, then then Mifune, then finally Tsunade herself. She narrowed her eyes at the man standing on the ceiling above them in an Akatsuki cloak. Who are you? Asked when suddenly Kakashi and a contingent of samurai appeared in the room, the ninja spotting the visitor first. That chakra, it seems familiar somehow, he thought as he took his position by Tsunade. My real name is not a concern, you may call me Akuma. I do not wish to stay long, just to ring you a message, said the man now identified as Akuma, his face unknown behind his mask. Kakashi looked at the red-streaked blonde hair and continued to feel a tinge of déjà vu, as if he had met this man before. And what is this message? Asked Mifune. I came here to tell you that a change of plans, if you will, has occurred. The Fourth Shinobi World War is called off, said Akuma. Mifune and the 5 Kage caught off guard by the statement. Called off? What do you mean? Questioned as he got up from his chair. Simple, the Eye of the Moon plan is finished with Madara. He has been removed from the position as leader of the Akatsuki. Removed? How? Questioned Anoki before Akuma pulled out a scroll from his cloak and unfurled it, dropping it onto the table. Akuma formed a single hand sign, the scroll being engulfed by a smoke cloud. Tsunade's eyes widened in shock as she saw the thing that had been unsealed from the scroll, the others soon seeing it as well. Laying in the center of the table were the mangled and bloody halves of the proposed Madara Uchiha for all to see. Kakashi's heart stopped as he gazed at the man, then at the corpse. Asterisk, he beat Madara Uchiha? Just who is this guy, thought Kakashi. I have killed Madara Uchiha and have taken his spot as leader of Akatsuki, announced Akuma as he touched down into the ground from the ceiling. I just contradicted my own statement. You see, this isn't the real Madara Uchiha. Mountain's graveyard. Akuyuri slid down the slope of the large crater occupied by the rib-age-like cave entrance to the base of Madara Uchiha. As she walked towards the entrance, she felt rumbling under her feet and flares of chakra. Guess it's time to crash a party. She smirked as she cracked her knuckles and reared her arm back. Zetsu was running frantically in the almost pitch blackness of the cave, a dark form moving in the shadows with him. Suddenly the roof of the cave was smashed inward, gradient sunlight and boulders raining down into the cave. Zetsu dodged in between the boulders, keeping an eye out for his enemy. Long time no see, Zetsu? Asked Akuyuri as she smashed down into the boulder beside the plant man. Nagato? What are you doing alive? I'll explain later, right now, come with me, ordered Akuyuri as she leaped out of the cave through the makeshift exit. When the two disappeared, a dark purple hand appeared out of the shadows, followed by its body. Its body covered by armor that made it look like a more devilish version of Itachi's Susanoo, only with a crow's beak being the mouth of the armor worn over it. A man was standing within the devilish form, unwrapping bandages around his eyes. He may have gotten away, but this was more than enough of a test of my new eyes, thought Sasuke as he opened his new eyes, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, a mix of his and Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingans, glowing in the darkness. Now to find that snake Kabuto, he said as his Susanoo disappeared. Meanwhile, Akuyuri and Zetsu had taken refuge in the bone plains at the northern tip of the mountain's graveyard. Alright, now that we are settled, tell us who you are and how you possess the Rinnegan, asked Black and White Zetsu as he sat down on a rock. Akuyuri smirked as she said, Zetsu, you don't remember me? I'm hurt. Here, let me show you, said Akuyuri as she pulled back her right sleeve up to her shoulder. Instantly extending out from the shoulder popped out an extra 2 arms and waved. So you really are Nagato? I thought you died, exclaimed White Zetsu, with Akuyuri quickly shaking her head as the 2 arms morphed back into her arm. No, Nagato is truly dead. You see, before he died he transferred the rest of his chakra into me and revived me. The reason why I look different is because everyone pretty much knew who Shirato was, so I became Akiyuri. How did you know we were here? I was sent here to take care of Kabuto Yakushi, because he poses a threat to our plans. Whose plans? The new leader of Akatsuki. Tobi's dead. Smirked Akiyuri. Both Setsus were shocked beyond belief. Dead? Tobi? Stuttered White Setsu. Impossible, you have no proof. Scoffed Black Setsu, the cocky smirk on Akiyuri's face widening. Go ahead then, try to find his chakra. She urged, Setsu shrugging as small roots sprouted from his foot and dug into the ground, connecting to the roots of the trees around them. After a few seconds, Setsu's confident smug look began to fade away, slowly turning into horror. And I bet you didn't see this coming. The man who killed him was none other than the now rogue Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Smirked Akiyuri even more, Setsu nearly falling off the rock at the shock. Tobi killed by that boy? Asked White Setsu, still in disbelief. He ripped his arm off and cut him in half with a Rasengan to the gut. He's changed since the last time you or Tobi, or I should say Obito, saw. He and the Kyuubi have fused their chakras together, and are perfectly in sync. No one can stop them, not even Obito could do it. Now back to the mission, said Akiyuri when suddenly the giant serrated blade Akiyuri possessed burst out of the ground behind Zetsu, and stabbed through his chest, green blood spurting out from the wound. Why you? Growled Black Zetsu before his entire body shivered as the chakra receiver metal embedded into the blade disrupted his chakra, leaving him helpless before Akiyuri. She walked up to Zetsu, the tail unearthing itself from the ground, Zetsu seeing it that it had snaked out from underneath her cloak while he wasn't looking. She squatted before the man and looked him straight in the eye, her smirk gone with the wind and replaced by a deep scowl. You will tell me where Kabuto is and I'll make your death somewhat less painful. She snarled, multiple blades sprouting from her right wrist while she held them to his neck. Do not tell her, said Black Zetsu, Akiyuri smirking as her blade started to slide up through Zetsu's flesh. Blood dribbled from White Zetsu's visible lip as Akiyuri's blade started to sever the two halves of the being Zetsu, eventually dragging it out from their head and separating the two Zetsus from each other. Do not give up the informat, shouted Black Zetsu before his sentence was cut off by, literally, by the serrated sword tail slicing through his neck and making his head roll. White Zetsu looked up fearfully at the still smirking Akiyuri as she turned her gaze back to him. Let's try this again, shall we? Asked Akiyuri kindly as she maneuvered the tail to keep its point pressed against his neck. I don't know where he went, squealed Zetsu, the response unsatisfying to Akiyuri. The sword started to draw blood from his neck as it pressed harder against the skin. I'll ask again, where is Kabuto? Demanded Akiyuri, her voice still unnervingly sweet. I don't know, I swear, shouted White Zetsu, now panicking as more blood dripped down his neck as the sword continued to push harder against the skin. This is the last time I'll ask before you join your other half. Where is Kabuto? Asked Akiyuri again, White Zetsu's lip quivering before he finally broke. Okay. I planted some spores on him and know where he is. I'll tell you if you let me live, he said, Akiyuri smiling as she patted his cheek. Good boy, now that wasn't so hard, was it? Alright, you can tell me. He's in a cave 30 miles north of here, said White Zetsu as he hung his head in shame. Good boy, said Akiyuri again before the sword, quick and clean, sliced off White Zetsu's head to join Black Zetsu's. The blade snaked back into the confines of her cloak as she stood up, her job done. Let's go pay him a visit. Meeting room, Allied Shinobi Forces HQ. What do you mean this isn't the real Madara Uchiha? Asked Kakashi, Akuma sniggering as he motioned to the mask. Take off the rest of that mask, he said, Kakashi glancing at the blood-stained orange mask of the Uchiha. He slowly reached his hand over and gulped at the blank Sharingan eye staring back at him. He slipped off the mask and as soon as he did, it dropped to the floor with a clatter, Kakashi freezing on the spot. Kakashi? Asked Tsunade as Kakashi steps away from the Uchiha, shaking his head back and forth in disbelief. No, that can't be. There's no way in hell, he stuttered as he stared at the Uchiha's face. On the left side across the face down to his lips were wrinkles in the skin, the tone slightly lighter than the other side. Kakashi had instantly recognized him. What's wrong? Asked Mei as she glanced from the body to Kakashi. He's right, this isn't Madara, but what? Who is it, Kakashi? Asked Tsunade. It's my old friend and teammate Obito Uchiha, said Kakashi, Akuma watching with an amused look on his face, hidden behind his mask of course. Was he the one? Asked Tsunade softly, Kakashi slowly nodding. As you can see, I tell the truth. Now, to another matter. As a peace-off errand to the 5 great shinobi villages and the Land of Iron, I hereby relinquish the bijou captured before the war back to you. After this meeting I will send them to you at the end of the week, said Akuma, surprising them yet again. How do we know we can trust you? Asked Gara with his eyes narrowed, feeling the same feeling as Kakashi. You have my word. If I meant hostility towards you all, this building would already be ashes along with everyone inside, said Akuma darkly, Tsunade shivering. Very well, Akuma, we agree, said A, making the executive decision. A pleasure, said Akuma as he bowed before his body disappeared in a column of red fire. As the Kages and Mifune stood up to leave, Tsunade whispered to Gara and Kakashi, Did you feel it as well? Yes, it felt as if I had known or met this Akuma figure, said Gara as he walked beside Tsunade. I don't know if I'm delusional or what, But it felt like that man's chakra was exactly like the Kyuubi's. Said Kakashi while rubbing his neck, Tsunade glancing at him. I did as well, we'll discuss this later. Come on, I need some sake, Kabuto's hideout. Kage, just a little more and my perfect army will be ready to fight. Snickered Kabuto as he laid a board out on the flat stone floor before him, a handful of small pebbles in his hand. Behind him, unconscious and bruised, was Anko Mitarashi, having been intercepted by Kabuto for infiltrating. Suddenly the wall was blown inward, Kabuto flying forward away from the explosion. He whipped his head around, his eyes wide as can be, and saw Akiyuri walk into the cave and smirk. Come here, bastard, she said as she disconnected her wrist from her arm and flung it out, multiple segmented missiles sprouting out and firing at Kabuto. Who the hell is this? Thought Kabuto frantically as he dodged the missiles. Suddenly Akiyuri appeared right behind him and slammed her elbow into his spine, sending him rocketing forward and smashing through a rock pillar. Kabuto spit out blood as the still smirking Akiyuri walked towards him. He glared at her, but he hesitated at the sight of the Rinnegan. Time for you to die, Kabuto, and join Tobi in hell, said Akiyuri as the serrated sword tail snakes back out from her cloak. Kabuto shakily got up and began to weave hand signs. Not so fast, said Akiyuri as she appeared right in front of Kabuto and slammed her hand into his throat with the force of a moving train. Blood flew out from his mouth as his windpipe was crushed from the sheer strength of the female. She slammed him to the ground and pinned him there with the serrated blade stabbing him through the gut. He coughed out more blood as he felt himself dying. Goodbye, Kabuto, and good riddance, said Akiyuri as she slammed her foot into Kabuto's jaw, large snap echoing out in the cave. His head rolled on its side, limp as a noodle. Now to meet up with Naruto, sighed Akiyuri as she left the cave, leaving Anko and the dead Kabuto inside. Sasuke walked through the hole in the caves wall a few minutes later and saw Kabuto dead. Figures. Naruto sat meditating atop a small hill, the wind softly blowing around him and through his hair. He opened his eyes as he felt someone approached him, a friend. Was your mission successful, Akiyuri? He asked as he stood up and faced her. Kabuto and Tobi's sidekick Zetsu are dead. How did yours go? Well, at the end of this week, the Bijou will return to their respective villages to see if they pass, said Naruto as the two began to walk side by side. I wonder who will pass and who will fail, wondered Akiyuri. The ones who fail will be eradicated, just like Konoha will. Those who pass will be spared. This test will determine their fates, and when the 1-year trial period is up, we act upon their lowered guard and stab them in the back, said Naruto with an evil smile as he slipped on his mask. They arrived at the border of Rain Country, Naruto already feeling the moist air hit him. Soon enough, they had returned to Amigekyo with open arms, Conan greeting them at the front gate. Welcome back, how was it? We both succeeded in our missions. Now all we must do is wait, said Naruto as he entered the village briskly, Akiyuri and Conan following directly behind him. What are we going to do while we wait? Asked Conan, Naruto glancing towards her. We recruit, of course. The Akatsuki needs members. Cave, now formerly Kabuto's grave. Sasuke had waited for several hours after the depart of Akiyuri, watching over Kabuto's body until his expected guests arrived. Sasuke, this is where you've been. Sheesh, snorted Suigetsu as he and Yugo entered the cave and approached their leader. I need to revive Orochimaru from this woman's curse seal, since his chakra still resides within it, said Sasuke calmly, Suigetsu flipping out. Revive Orochimaru? You're insane. There's something I need to do. This makes no sense. More importantly, you can't revive Orochimaru, said Suigetsu as Sasuke lifted Anko's body and held her up. Suigetsu, do us all a favor and be quiet. Better yet, take a piece of Kabuto's flesh and bring it here, asked Sasuke, Suigetsu sighing. I ain't touching him. Then I'll do it, spoke up Yugo before walking up to Kabuto's body and squatting down. His right arm became dark brown and formed scales and claws as he touched Kabuto's skin. So that's how you're gonna play it, huh? You sure about this, Yugo? He's gonna fucking revive Orochimaru, pleaded Suigetsu, Yugo not hearing him. Sasuke's will is Kimimara's will, so I shall follow him, said Yugo as he started pull off a chunk of Kabuto's flesh. And speaking of you, what the hell is that? Said Suigetsu, Yugo looking at him with his blank gaze. The people of my village called it Sage Transformation. That's what my original transformation was called. My copy called it Curse Seal Transformation, said Yugo as he carried the chunk of flesh over to Anko and placed it on her neck where the curse seal was. It started to bulge out, Yugo stepping back beside Sasuke. Great, I guess we get to go fight in a war then, grumbled Suigetsu as he hid behind a stone pillar as the bulge on Anko's neck grew and became a snake's nose. It grew bigger until it opened its mouth wide to allow a certain figure to slide out. From the snake's maw appeared Orochimaru yet again, his body coated with saliva. He glanced at Sasuke and smiled. To think that you'd be the person to revive me. He landed on all fours on the ground as the snake disconnected from Anko's neck and crumbled into ash. He stood up and looked at everyone else before resettling his eyes on Sasuke. Hi there, long time no see, he said Suigetsu in a shaky voice as he cowered behind the rock pillar. There's something I need you to do, Orochimaru, said Sasuke while Orochimaru turned to look at Kabuto's lifeless body before glancing back at him. I don't need you to explain such a menial fact to me. I've been watching you the entire time from within Anko, My senjutsu chakra was poured into this cursed seal, but as I was split from it, my consciousness also inhabited it. Explained the snake Sannin, Sasuke looking at him with a blank expression. Then you know about the war? Of course I do. I'll say one thing about that though, Suigetsu, said Orochimaru, Suigetsu steeling himself for an answer. I have no interest in this war. What? It was a war started by someone else, and I have no interest in fighting in it. I'm even tired of trying to steal your body, Sasuke, said Orochimaru with a tired expression. Sasuke kept his gaze with Orochimaru as he pulled out a purple scroll and held it out. What do you want to meet them for? Asked Orochimaru seriously. I don't know much, I want to hear everything from them. Everything? You don't need to know that, you're still a child. No, I'm not. I am no longer a child, I can't afford to be one. You're not sure about revenge? Asked Orochimaru. No. I'm not doting on the revenge itself. Learning about Itachi's mission only added hatred towards Konoha. But the feelings of my brother Itachi, who became a betrayer and died, all to protect the village as a Konoha shinobi, said Sasuke as he lowered his arm to his side. What was Itachi? Our clan? The village? Asked Sasuke to no one in particular. I want to know everything, think about it on my own, and make my own answer. So I can stare at what must be done with my eyes and own will, said Sasuke, Yugo and Suigetsu going back and forth between Orochimaru and Sasuke. He was manipulated by Itachi, he's far different from when Tobi and I were using him, thought Orochimaru as he started to walk over to Kabuto's body. Suigetsu quickly bailed out from embeds the pillar beside the body. Orochimaru placed his hand on Kabuto's chest and kneeling beside him, still thinking, for some reason it feels strange. He's gonna suck up Kabuto's power then come after us, said Suigetsu frantically as he stood behind Sasuke. The way you are now, it's not bad, said Orochimaru as Kabuto's body started to return to normal. Look! He stole his power, shouted Suigetsu, Yugo sighing in annoyance. Suigetsu Kabuto was already dead to begin with, he said while pinching the bridge of his nose. Fine, I'll assist you. Follow me, said Orochimaru before he turned to start walking towards the cave's exit. Where? To a place you know well. Come on, smirked Orochimaru, Suigetsu almost fainting because of this. Fuck me life. Pain's Tower Amigakure. Konan had led Akiyuri and Naruto up to Pain's Tower, the former dwelling of Nagato Uzumaki. Thank you, Konan, said Naruto, Konan nodding as she left them before a blank wall. Akiyuri, if you will. She walked up to the wall and held her hand up to its face. She channeled her chakra into the wall, and it started to stretch, a hole forming. Soon a doorway had replaced the wall's face. Naruto clapped his hand onto her shoulder and slipped off his mask, the porcelain mask changing into Naruto's demonic chakra and phasing into his skin. Thank you, said Naruto as he pulled down his face mask and smiled at her. While he walked into the dark room, Akiyuri was blushing deeply before she quickly followed him inside. Naruto's red eyes glowed in the darkness while he looked around. Kaijatan Kase Furia, he said, a ball of red fire sparking to life in the palm of his hand before floating into the air. The fire provided a flickering red glow in the room, allowing the two of them to see. Situated in the room were the 6 pods that Nagato kept, the 6 paths of pain when not in use. This was my pod, said Akiyuri while reminiscing her memories. She placed her hand on the pod that had the kanji for Azura on it and smiled. Nagato would have had to have a place where he could lie alone, a place of study. Do you have any idea where it could be? Asked Naruto with a glance at Akiyuri. No, I don't. Naruto shrugged before he started to feel the surface of the wall, looking for an hidden button or switch. His hand brushed over a hole in the wall and put his index finger inside, collecting residue on his finger. This residue has the same buzzing feeling as the chakra rods in my arm, said Naruto, Akiyuri walking over. You don't think? She asked while Naruto formed a chakra receiver in his hand and slid it into the hole. They both heard a small click, Naruto glancing back to Akiyuri with a smirk in his face before looking back at the hole. He turned the rod and a series of clicks and clanks sounded out from behind the wall. Slowly the wall opened up like a door to reveal a large room, bookcases stacked with books reaching all the way to the ceiling, an oak desk and chair in the center sitting on an expensive rug, a fireplace to the right of it, a bed to the left, and a large glass window behind it with a door leading out to a balcony. Amazing, said Akiyuri in awe of the extensive collection of books as they walked into the study. Naruto spotted something on the desk and walked over to pick it up, finding it to be a small note attached to a ring with the kanji 0 on it. Naruto, if you are reading this, then you have found my secret study. Use whatever is inside to aid you in finding true peace. This ring belongs to you now. Good luck, Nagato. Read aloud Naruto before he set down the note and looked at the ring. Faintly remembering it was worn on the Deva Path's right thumb, he slipped it onto that specific finger and instantly felt a rush of chakra flow through him. Akiyuri stopped him from collapsing to the ground as his legs gave out when he slipped on the ring. Wow, that was a rush, said Naruto as he regained his balance. Akiyuri stepping back and gasped. I sense Nagato's chakra running through you. He must have stored some of it in the ring before he died. Nagato, you sneaky bastard, smirked Naruto as he walked up to the window and gazed out over the village. His face tensed as he became serious. Tell Konan that she can start looking for recruits. I'm going to be going somewhere. Where? She asked as Naruto turned to walk out of the room. I'm going to meet 2 old friends. he said as he formed his mask again and slipped it on as he disappeared in a column of fire. Be careful, said Akayuri to no one as she hung her head a little. Konoha. Sasuke, Orochimaru, Yugo and Suigetsu looked down onto Konoha from atop the Hokage monument, the extensive village still under reconstruction after the damage caused by the invasion of Pain. Sasuke sighed and smiled a little as he looked down onto his old home. This place has changed quite a bit, he said as he activated his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, damn what a long name, and scanned the village for his quarry. On their way to the village, they had discovered that the Fourth Shinobi World War was called off by the new Akatsuki leader, someone named Akuma, and that he had killed Tobi, in fact being a missing nin from Konoha named Obito Uchiha. They had gone to a small shrine covered in Shinigami masks, Orochimaru grabbing a specific one to take with them. What's Sasuke's deal? Whispered Suigetsu, Orochimaru chuckling a little. It's just like the time when I planned the crushing of the leaf. Still not following. He has chosen a divergent path from the village, yet it'll always hold some sentimental value. He's soaking it all in and coming to terms with the consequences of his future actions and reaffirming his resolve. Whistles, and you've gone through the same thing? Asked Suigetsu with a glance towards the snake Sannin. Yes, I have, said Orochimaru before Sasuke glanced back at them. Found it, come on, he said as he leaped from the monument down towards the village. They arrived at the decimated remains of the abandoned Uchiha complex, and after a quick recon to make sure no one was in the vicinity, Sasuke stood before a large marble slab engraved with the Sharingan on its surface. Sasuke's eyes glowed and the slab slowly floated upwards, revealing a stairwell leading into the earth. Huh, you actually need a jutsu to move that giant rock? Smirked Suigetsu, Sasuke eyeing him. There's nothing left of the Uchiha's Nakano shrine, well, not on the surface anyway. What lies of value is underneath the shrine. Let's go, said Sasuke, being the first to descend the staircase. Soon they stood in a torchlit circular room, standing before the Uchiha stone tablet. I suppose I should begin. Stand back, said Orochimaru as he took out the Shinigami mask and placed it on his face. Instantly he was overtaken by white fire, and he screamed out a blood-curdling cry as the Shinigami death god appeared behind him. Sasuke remembered what they had discussed on their way to the village. According to the info on the scroll, we need to retrieve the Shinigami's mask first. I was told it could be found in the Uzumaki clan's mask shrine on the outskirts of Konoha. You must then allow the Shinigami to possess you in order to release it, said Orochimaru in the memory. The Shinigami took out the knife in its mouth and lowered it towards its emaciated stomach. To undo the jutsu, you need to slice open its stomach. I'll need to become a sacrifice, however. And from that, I'll finally be able to use my arms. The Shinigami sliced open its stomach, releasing 4 souls from its body back into the world. Orochimaru screamed again as a huge cut appeared in his stomach, blood spitting out of wound like a river. They're back, yelled Orochimaru painfully. Then I can perform the Edo Tensei and bring those 4 back. You do realize though that we'll need to donate something for this jutsu. Aha! You're thinking of sacrificing us, aren't you? Yelled Suigetsu in the memory obnoxiously, Orochimaru smirking. Appealing as that idea may be, we have better options available to us. Although, it may not be obvious to you now. Yugo, Suigetsu, Sasuke. Prepare yourselves, yelled Orochimaru as he took of the mask, spitting out blood from his mouth. On it, said Yugo as his arm turned back into the dark brown scaled and clawed arm. He touched Sasuke's body, 6 white blobs starting to appear from him. When Yugo applies his curse seal chakra into Sasuke's body, it will draw out the white Zetsu clones, Tobi's spies, out from his body. Damn it, how? Asked a Zetsu clone as he looked up at the kneeling Orochimaru as he clutched his gut. I know all about Hashirama's cells from my experiments, and that includes being able to sense their presence. So there were 6 of you. Tobi does indeed do his due intelligence, said Orochimaru. When I recovered my chakra from Kabuto's body, I also gained all the intel he had acquired. He was well aware of the Zetsu clones hiding within Sasuke, said Orochimaru the last time in the memory, Sasuke returning to real life as he saw Yugo and Suigetsu restrain 2 of the clones, while the other 4 were binded by snakes and were used as sacrifices for Orochimaru's Edo Tensei. The 4 released souls hovered over the Zetsu clones as Orochimaru started to perform the necessary seals. Suigetsu, Yugo, I leave the other 2 to you, he said with a smirk, Suigetsu snickering as he began to pull apart his clone's jaw while Yugo absorbed the other's life force through his power. Orochimaru slammed his palm to the ground and said, Kuchios Edo Tensei. The souls flew downward into the 4 trapped Zetsu clones as they screamed, while their bodies became covered with ash. They began to form into 4 famous people, Orochimaru's true form flying out from his body through the mouth and shouting, Here they come! He flew right into Suigetsu's clone's mouth, bloody flying out as he took over its body. The ones who know it all, said Orochimaru as the 4 figures stood up. The previous Hokage, said Orochimaru with a smirk, before them standing the first Hokage Hashirama Senju, the second Hokage, his brother, Tobirama Senju, then the third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, then Naruto's father himself, Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage. So that's Hashirama, the god of all shinobi, stuttered Suigetsu while Hashirama raised his eyebrow in confusion. That Orochimaru brat again, sighed Tobirama while his brother glanced at him. What's going on? He removed the shikifujin that bound us, then used Edo Tensei, said Hiruzen while placing his hands on his hips. You really managed to remove the seal? How'd you pull it off, Orochimaru? Asked Minato. Don't underestimate me, Minato. It may have originally been a technique of the Uzumaki clan, but once my ability to perform jutsu became limited, I spent my downtime investigating old ruins and examining the private documents of long-lost clans, said Orochimaru as his body fully formed, a smirk appearing on his face. First, it appears as though we've all been revived, began Minato before he looked at Hashirama and Tobirama, seeing them eyeing him weirdly. Hashirama placed his hand on his knee and looked over to him and asked, Who's this guy? I'm the fourth Hokage, said Minato as he turned and pointed with his thumbs to the kanji on his haori that stood for fourth Hokage. Holy shit! A fourth? Exclaimed Hashirama with a smile, the others in the room remaining silent. Splendid! The village has endured for quite some time, it seems, chuckled Hashirama happily. I really can't confirm that I actually died and was sealed long before Hiruzen, said Minato sheepishly. Why? Seriously? I thought you and the third were sealed together? Nope, the chain of events unfolded a bit differently, smiled Minato chestily. So tell me, who's the fifth? Asked Hashirama, Orochimaru being the one who answered. Your granddaughter, Tsunade. In an instant, Hashirama went into emo mode with his head hung over. Tsunade and the village is still standing, he muttered. You have so little faith in her, said Minato before Hashirama broke out laughing. It's just since she was my first granddaughter I spoiled her rotten. She picked up some really bad habits from me, including my propensity for gambling. Jaya ha ha ha. While Tobirama pinched the bridge of his nose, Sojetsu was sighing as well. The god of shinobi isn't exactly living up to his name, so underwhelming. So the Edo Tensei again? My jutsu seems easier to replicate now, said Tobirama as he flexed his hand. It's a rather straightforward jutsu, and one you should have kept in the deep recesses in your mind, said Orochimaru, Tobirama glaring at him confusedly. Not only your jutsus but the political climate you helped foster had a real negative impact on the future generations. It even trickled down to our time. Don't tell me, you want to wage war on Konoha again? Growled Tobirama, Hiruzen glaring at Orochimaru. I sacrificed myself to cripple your ability to use jutsus. How is this possible? And now you've revived me, your mentor. With the Edo Tensei, are you planning on using us against Konoha? Hashirama facepalmed and sighed. Geez, no matter the time the world is in constant turmoil, he was right about it being an immoral jutsu. Remember Tobirama, that one time I lectured you on, began Hashirama before Tobirama cut him off. Silence, brother, I haven't finished my discussion with the brat yet. Yeah, but silence, ordered Tobirama, Hashirama diving back into emo mode. The god of shinobi is so revered by his peers, thought Sojetsu before Orochimaru spoke again. Relax, the destruction of Konoha is not my goal, nor will it ever be now. If you'll notice, I haven't taken the liberty of eliminating your personalities. Thanks to unforeseen circumstances, I've revived everybody so he can do some inquiring, said Orochimaru as he motioned to Sasuke. I am Sasuke Uchiha. There are a few things I have to know. Sasuke? Sputtered Hiruzen in shock while Tobirama smirked. Hen Uchiha, it's just like one to keep such company. Tobirama, how many times must I tell you to not spit out such political bigotry? Shouted Hashirama, Tobirama looking at him, still as compassionate as ever. I'm not the person of interest here. Third, why did you give Itachi those orders? Asked Sasuke, Hiruzen setting his gaze with Sasuke's. So you were finally told the truth. I killed Itachi and got my revenge for the rest of the Uchiha clan. Afterwards, Tobi and Danzo revealed the truth to me. That's when I decided Konoha must pay. However, I need to hear it from you directly. Tell me everything about Itachi, said Sasuke, Hiruzen staying silent for a few seconds as he considered his words. We ordered him to kill his clan, then branded him a traitor. We had him infiltrate Akatsuki and act as our lone spy. While his peers ignored them, Itachi, at a very young age, was very sensitive to the legacy and ancestry of his predecessors. His astuteness about the village's origins and the shinobi that bore from it was probably the reason why. He never really had strong familial ties to his clan. He was always able to see the bigger picture, and what he saw made him very restless. At the age of 7, his wisdom was already on par with that of a Hokage's. So we placed an unfathomable burden onto his young shoulders and he welcomed it with open arms and treated it like a personal mission, said Hiruzen, pausing a moment to catch his breath. So he slaughtered his entire clan to prevent the coup and in doing so stopped an even greater bloodshed that would have ensued. He agreed to join Akatsuki as our spy, all for the sake of the village, with the lone condition that I shield his youngest brother from harm. Finished Hiruzen, Sasuke's lip quivering as he lowered his head. So it was all true, he said as he gathered himself. Such is the fate of the damned Uchiha clan, they were all annihilated, to be expected for planning a coup. I knew they'd rebel eventually. Madara's will was secretly shared by quite a few, growled Tobirama, Sasuke glaring at him. You unwittingly fanned those flames second by forming the Konoha military police force. Those who keep the peace are viewed with vitriol. Furthermore, absolute power corrupts absolutely. You even built their headquarters in a location that once served as a prison. Under the guise of maintaining the peace, you knowingly chased them to the outskirts of the village. You made conditions very favorable for Madara to gain sympathizers, said Orochimaru, Hashirama quick to turn on his brother. Tobirama, how many times did I tell you to stop persecuting the Uchihas? I simply gave them a duty they could excel at. Besides, you can't blame me for skewing things the way I did after what Madara pulled. You know better than anyone else, the Uchihas are a cursed clan, said Tobirama, Sasuke's glare turning into a scowl. You seem fixated on Madara, does he frighten you so? Mused Orochimaru, Tobirama eyeing him. Little one, you know nothing of Madara. Second Hokage, answer me this then. Just what are the Uchiha? What are they to you? Demanded Sasuke, Tobirama bending over as he hummed in thought. The Uchiha clan and my clan, the Senju, have been at each other's throats for as long as I can remember. Simply put, we're mortal enemies. I'm well aware of this. But why do you call them a cursed clan? Asked Sasuke, Tobirama thinking again. Public perception is that the Senju valued friendship and love over jutsu, whilst the Uchiha place absolute value on jutsu above all else, but in actuality this is false, said Tobirama as he set his gaze with Sasuke, Orochimaru raising his eyebrows. The Uchiha are the ones that valued love and friendship above all else, so much that they deemed it necessary to seal them away. What are you talking about? When an Uchiha comes to experience these feelings, it's as if a torrent is unleashed within them, and it awakens something even greater than what the Senju know. What's your beef, man? Can't you just get along since both clans are filled with that lovey-dovey crap? Asked Suigetsu, Tobirama crossing his arms and sighing. But therein lies the problem. Their feelings are in fact too powerful, and if left unchecked, an Uchiha that experiences and knows these intense feelings, and loses them, those feelings transform into an indomitable hatred that consumes them. I've seen it happen many times, and without fail, a symptom always follows. A symptom? Asked Sasuke, Tobirama nodding. The anguish and despair that proceeds from experiencing such loss causes the brain to release a special kind of chakra that affects their optic nerves. The eye that reflects their feelings, the mirror will eye the Sharingan, said Tobirama, Sasuke's eyes widening at the revelation. The Sharingan mirrors those feelings of despair and anguish and gives the user a considerable boost in power. The Uchiha are very impressionable. All who come to experience these emotions invariably become consumed by depraved path. The further down that path they fall, the more powerful their eyes become, and the harder it is to reason with them, as in Madara's case, said Tobirama, Hashirama adding to the conversation. Madara's younger brother meant the world to him, probably more than how your brother felt towards you. I tried to channel that power of the Uchiha that could benefit the village, but it seems they used that very power to destroy themselves, and for the sake of the village no less. At least in the end their power served for the greater good. Tobirama, can you at least try to be a bit respectful? We're in the presence of a pure Uchiha child, yelled Hashirama, Tobirama shrugging. All I've ever cared about is the greater good of the village. You know this well, brother. I don't care what tone he uses, I am neither pure nor a child, said Sasuke, his eyes morphing into his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. That shape, a eternal Mangekyo Sharingan? Thought Tobirama before Sasuke spoke to Hashirama. First Hokage, what is the legacy of this village? And what purpose do the shinobi fill? Asked Sasuke, Hashirama sucking in a breath of air at the daunting question. He held his chin in his hand and closed his eyes, pondering the question. The legacy of the village and purpose of shinobi, he said slowly. Itachi willingly allowed himself to be exploited by the village, gave his final breath for its sake, never wearing his loyalty to Konoha, slaughtering his brethren, sacrificing himself. Just what is the legacy of this village? The forefathers, what were their motivations? I need to hear these things from you, then I'll act accordingly, said Sasuke as he held out one hand. Either crush Konoha or perhaps crush Konoha? This little shit inherited the Uchiha's malevolence. You dare make threats in front of me, boy? Snarled Tobirama as his fingers tightened around his arm. Second, said Hiruzen as he and Minato stepped back a little. Tobirama, said Hashirama, a huge spike of his chakra causing cracks to spread around the room. Relax your fingers now, said Hashirama, Tobirama glaring at him as his fingers relaxed. Easy, brother, no need to spike your chakra to those levels, said Tobirama, with Hashirama quickly bursting out laughing. Jaya, ha ha ha. Sorry about that. Holy crap, breathed Minato while Hiruzen let out a sigh of relief. Hashirama, don't scare me like that, he thought. TCH, said Tobirama as he turned his head away. Sasuke, your brother was truly amazing, puts a shinobi like me to shame actually. So the legacy of the village, it's a long tale, said Hashirama while he took a seat on floor and crossed his legs. Where should I start? Hashirama began at the beginning, talking about the long and bloody history of the Uchiha and Senju clans, how they had come to hate each other, and with the day he and Madara first met. He talked of how they met with each other always at a river to skip stones, unbeknownst to their clans and respective fathers. They talked of the future inspired to test their capabilities with each other, training as well. They had become friends. They both envisioned a place where it would be peaceful and have no wars. Eventually the idea will come to prosper through the village they build, Konoha. One day, they were both forced to have to kill each other by their fathers, the two of them not willing to do that. So they have signals to each other on the stones they used to toss at the river they meet at. Their fathers and younger brothers showed up at either side of the river and almost shed blood that day through the deaths of the other's youngest son, using that as a way to make the other become flustered by his emotions. The young Madara and Hashirama though stopped this, but from that moment on, their friendship was now dead. Over the years they continued to fight, and in the blink of an eye, they had become the heads of their respective clans. Madara had believed the talks they had about a peaceful village was now only wishful thinking, but Hashirama didn't. They ended up fighting once again, with Madara having obtained the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan after Tobirama had killed his brother, allowing Madara to take his eyes. Madara ended up being the first to fall, but if Hashirama wanted his trust back towards his clan, he'd either have to kill his brother or himself. When Hashirama tried to attempt the only option he had, not killing his brother but himself, Madara stopped him. From that day, the Senju and Uchiha were at peace, like it was a dream. Only this time, that dream came into fruition, with Konohagakure being built and named by Madara himself. They slowly rekindled their friendship, but it all ended one night with Madara leaving the village to walk another path, one of hate. They fought once again for the last time in the place now known as the Valley of the End, Madara having the Kyuubi and his Susanoo on his side. They fought to the death, with Hashirama, realizing that he had to make painful sacrifices if he wanted to keep the peace he and Madara had envisioned in their youth, struck down Madara. That day I slew a dear friend for the sake of my village. For the sake of my village, the village Madara and I had spent countless hours discussing was a place that could bring clans closer together, an indispensable pillar in turning that what had been total anarchy into a semblance of order. A place where children no longer had to spill blood, a place with no more petty disagreements, a place governed by peace. Said Hashirama after finishing his story. He took a breath and continued. That's not to say there was no merit in Madara's final words. After all, I can't think of a better word to describe the burden your brother Itachi had to bear alone. You can go so far as to say Madara was a prophet. Perhaps he knew that outcome was inevitable, said Hashirama as he lowered his head, his eyes softening under Sasuke's gaze. Regardless, I am the one who allowed and fostered the conditions that led to things unfolding the way they did. I truly believe my actions were for the greater good of the village, because I realize that we shinobi are beings that must make impossible choices in order to achieve our dreams. And depending on the nature of the dream you chase after, you have no choice but to change to accommodate those dreams, just like how Madara and I had to. Finish Hashirama before raising his head up to look at Sasuke. Shinobi are beings that must make impossible choices in order to achieve their dreams, repeated Sasuke while thinking about the meaning of those words. Building the village the ground up was my dream. Madara had a different dream, and chose to follow that, said Hashirama, making a point to his statement. My brother inherited your will and conviction, Hashirama, though he never had the luxury of hearing it from you. The burden he carried is something no one, not even you, can understand. Yet he did it so proudly, and happily gave his life for the sake of Konoha, said Sasuke as he smiled a little. It's kind of like the punchline to a twisted joke. If you asked me, the shinobi who shared your point of view the most happened to be an Uchiha. Your brother was not alone. Men like Kagami Uchiha, who was a member of my team, shares many of those ideals. Spoke up Tobirama, Sasuke glancing at him. Second, I thought you despised the Uchiha? Hardly, I simply kept an eye on any clan that threatens the peaceful existence of our village. It just so happened the Uchiha always had a way of attracting my attention. I remember that name. Kagami was the father to Shursui Uchiha, Itachi's closest friend and another who shared Hashirama's ideals, pointed out Hiruzen, but their loyalty and commitment were second to none. Your brother, Kagami, Shursui and many others made the choice to forsake their clan, said Tobirama, a slight smile appearing on his face. Your brother was indeed a very great man and an honorable one as well. I'd be proud to have someone like that in my family. Sasuke smiled a little at Tobirama's words before Hiruzen spoke up. I was another that inherited the will of fire from the first. In hindsight, however, I was the most compassionate, often at times too considerate. One could say I didn't see the second's legacy through properly. For example, I accommodated Danzo's machinations by giving him free reign over the seedier side of the village, said Hiruzen regretfully. My legacy as Hokage seems to be one misstep after another, things unfolding the way they shouldn't have. That burden lies on my shoulders alone. Nonsense. What you did, your motives only had the best interests of the village in mind, said Minato, Sasuke shifting his gaze to him. When the Kyuubi attacked the village, it cost me my life. My reign as Hokage was woefully short. I have no doubt I fell short of the lofty expectations you set for me. Who knows, maybe if I had survived I might have handled the Uchiha coup differently. Finished Minato, Sasuke lowering his gaze and closing his eyes. Have you come to a decision, Sasuke? Asked Orochimaru. Crush Konoha or? Sasuke thought long and hard about this decision, his brain going at 100 miles per hour. He remembered the final words from Itachi before he succumbed to his illness and died. I always lied to you, telling you to forgive me. I used these hands to keep you at a distance, did not want you to get involved. But now I think maybe you could have changed father and mother, perhaps even the entire clan. If I had only stood in front of you, looked you in the eye from the very beginning, and talked to you, not down at you, and been open about everything, but I failed, and talking to you like this isn't going to tonic the permanent damage that's already been done to you. That's why I just wanted to show you the truth, Even if it was only just a little, you never have to forgive me, and no matter what you decide to do from here on out, I will always love you. Sasuke touched his forehead with 2 fingers in the spot Itachi's bloody fingers had touched him. Seems there won't be a next time. Goodbye, Sasuke. The memory ended, and Sasuke smiled at Itachi's words, lowering his hand back to his side. I'm done hiding in the shadows, I'm returning to the village. I won't let Itachi's will die, he said, Hashirama smiling as he stood up to stand alongside his companions again. I recall you saying you will follow Sasuke no matter what choice he'll make? Asked Hiruzen, Orochimaru chuckling. I'll stay with Sasuke until he finds a Konoha shinobi, then I'll depart to my village Otogekure to govern it properly. I will always be Sasuke's shield, so I guess I'll stay with him, said Yugo, Suigetsu sighing. I'm just going to go somewhere far away from you people, he muttered, and I know exactly where to find one, said Sasuke as he turned to walk out of the room. I'll properly return your souls to the afterlife after I return to Otogekure. Just sit tight, said Orochimaru as he formed a seal, 4 coffins appearing from nothing and stood behind the 4 Hokage. They gladly stepped inside and the coffins closed shut, disappearing once again. Valley of the End. Kakashi sat alone before the gigantic statue of Hashirama at the Valley of the End, the sacred battleground of the last fight between Hashirama and Madara. God, first it was Sasuke and now you, Naruto. Why? Asked Kakashi sadly as he hung his head. Hey Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi jumped up at the sound of the voice, his eye widening in shock as he saw Sasuke and Orochimaru, followed by only Yugo now, approach him. What do you want? Asked Kakashi as he took up a stance. Relax Kakashi, we do not wish to fight. Sasuke has made decision to return to Konoha after speaking with some very important people, said Orochimaru, Kakashi lightening his stance a little. Who? The 1st through 4th Hokages. I retrieved their souls from the Shinigami. Kakashi's face mask moved, showing that his mouth had opened a little in more shock. Minato-sensei, he thought before he regained his calm composure. You do realize you must face judgment by Konoha for your actions, correct? I do, and I take full responsibility for them, said Sasuke. Well then, I guess you can follow me then. Not so fast Kakashi, spoke a new voice, a deeper, darker sense to it. They all looked up and paled to see the very man who defeated Obito himself, the leader of Akatsuki, Akuma, sitting atop Madara's head. He glared down at them, his mask eerie to Sasuke. What do you want? Asked Kakashi, Akuma laughing as he leaped down from his perch and landed softly a couple of yards away from them. I do not wish to cause harm, I only want to talk, said Akuma while raising his hands, Kakashi relaxing. So you're Akuma, growled Sasuke, Akuma glaring at him now. A pleasure to meet you, said Orochimaru with a curt little bow to the leader. Sasuke Uchiha, the last Uchiha left alive after I killed Obito. Just what exactly are you planning? Asked Sasuke, Akuma shrugging. Recruit and just stay in the shadows. We're not interested in a war at the moment. All I'm concerned with is bringing peace to the world, said Akuma, Kakashi narrowing his eyes as he felt a familiar chakra inside the man. I recognize that chakra as well. Who is this man? Thought Kakashi. Peace? I doubt that considering the Akatsuki's reputation, countered Sasuke. You don't know who I am and what my motives are. All I want is peace. But to get there we must all feel pain, said Akuma, Kakashi's eyes widening as he finally registered the chakra. Pain, is that you? I thought you died, asked Kakashi, Akuma smirking under his mask as he glanced at Kakashi. What makes you say that? Your chakra matches the man that destroyed the village, he said, Sasuke narrowing his eyes at Akuma. That maybe this is a given as well, he said as he showed them the ring Pain had worn, the 0 ring. If you are him, then I must ask you to come with me, said Kakashi as he reached for a kunai. Sasuke beat him to the punch by quickly drawing his sword, sending Chidori lighting through its blade and swung at Akuma. Akuma leaped away from the swipe and glared at Sasuke. I only wanted to talk, he said, trying to reason with the Uchiha. Chidori Senban, yelled Sasuke as he drew his hand horizontally in a wide arc, sending multiple small, sharp pure lightning Senban at Akuma. Akuma flew away from the attack, the Senban peppering the ground where he once stood. Suddenly Sasuke appeared right beside him and after forming half of his Susanoo's rib cage in the right arm, he smashes its fist into Akuma body, sending him flying into the waterfall and the wall behind it, sending a plume of water splashing outward into the grass before the small lake. Akuma's body fell into the water and sunk to the bottom. I've tried talking to them, I've tried reasoning with them, snarled Akuma as deep voice spoke to him. Show them not to mess with us. Sasuke's eyes widened as steam started to float off the surface of the water, bubbling and forming too as it began to boil. Suddenly a clawed hand burst about the boiling water and grapes the soft grass, pulling up the rest of Akuma's body. When he stood up he lifted his head, showing part of his mask had been broken off, revealing half of a headband and one glaring, angry red eye. You have done this to me for the last time, now you're all gonna die, snarled Akuma as demonic chakra secreted from his body, reforming his mask and starting to cover him. The ground started to rumble and quacks as Akuma's chakra spiked. Holy shit! Gasped Sasuke as a wave of chakra hit them and sent them flying back, the same thing happening to Orochimaru and Yugo. This is the Kubi's chakra, shouted Kakashi through high gale force winds circulating around Akuma, half his body already covered in the demonic chakra. Kubi? How? The only people known today that possessed the Kyuubi's chakra were the Gold and Silver brothers from Kumo, and no stuttered Kakashi as Akuma's mask morphed into the chakra and was absorbed into the Akin, a evil fanged grin and 3 savage-looking whisker marks staring back at him. Hey there Kakashi-sensei, long time no see? Said Naruto, Sasuke experiencing the same shock as Kakashi. Naruto? You killed Obito? He shouted, Naruto sneering. Of course I did, roped his arm off and split in him half with my perfected Rasengan. He said back, Kakashi shaking his head in disbelief. Why? Why did you leave the village? Yelled Kakashi, Naruto smirking as the demonic chakra covered 3/4 of his body. After the night pain attacked the village, and what Danzo tried to pull, and with remembering all the damn shit the villagers out men through, I wanted to get the fuck out of that hellhole of a village. I was going to spare the ones that I cared about in the village, like you, Sakura and the others, and Sasuke as well, but when this happened, even after when I tried to reason with you, it destroyed any chance of that happening, he snarled as he got down onto the ground on all fours and growled. Kaijitan Besakai no Kimona no Akuma Ascension. He yelled, another explosion of chakra radiating out from his body, sending another blast of wind roaring past Kakashi, Sasuke, Yugo, and Orochimaru. Suck power, uttered Yugo in awe as Naruto emerged in his 4-tailed version 2 form, snarling at Sasuke. 6 tails. He growled in a deep voice, tinged with evil. 2 tails sprouted from his 4 tails and chakra bones started to form and attach to his body. Once the skull and jaw bones surrounded his head, he got down until he was about 3 inches away from the ground and narrowed his eyes. Kyuubi! What have you done to Naruto? Demanded Sasuke as he got up, his Sharingans, too lazy to write Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Oh wait, I just did, damn it, blazing in the night. Naruto turned his head a little to the right, a orb of white energy appearing in each eye hole of the skull with a single red eye in each. Me? I haven't done a thing, said Kurama, Sasuke snarling in anger. I haven't taken him over if that is what you're wondering, said Kurama. He's doing this completely on his own. You see, Naruto and I have fused our chakra together into one. He has ascended beyond you mortals. He is becoming just like us. You mean he's becoming a Bijou? Stuttered Kakashi in horrified astonishment, while Sasuke's incomplete Susanoo formed around him. Now we shall show you the power of a demon, roared Naruto as he rushed Sasuke. His Susanoo raised his hand up to block Naruto while the latter reared his arm back and slammed his fist into the hand and to everyone's surprise smashed right through it. Rasengan! Roared Naruto, his 6 tails shooting forward with a crimson Rasengan. Enten Kagatsuchi! Yelled Sasuke, his right eye beginning to bleed as a spiked wall of Amaterasu formed in front of Susanoo's chest. Naruto's Rasengan collided with the black flames, totally annihilating Susanoo's rib cage and hitting Sasuke in the shoulder. Ag! He screamed in Naruto's Rasengan, its power weakened by going through Susanoo so it only broke his arm. Hold on! Yelled Kakashi as he formed his signature Chidori and rushed Naruto. He swung his hand at his former student, but when he got close to his neck, he froze up. For the first time in his life, Kakashi hesitated when about to kill. A hand formed from the demonic chakra and smashed into Kakashi's stomach, sending him flying back. Damn it! Cursed Orochimaru as he sent Yugo to retrieve Sasuke while he formed a single seal. Naruto narrowed his eyes as 4 coffins appeared behind him, bearing the kanji for 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. The covers fell off and Hashirama, Tobirama, Hiruzen, and Minato stepped out. Minato's heart was instantly popping out of his chest as he sensed his son's chakra inside the demonic beast glaring at them. Naruto? Asked Minato, Naruto's eyes widening before his version 2 state dissipated before he stood up and looked at Minato. His face mask had burned away, allowing him to see his fangs and savage-looking whisker birthmarks. Dead? Asked Naruto, some tears starting to form in his eyes. Instantly Orochimaru's control over the 4th Hokage was gone as Minato ran towards his son and embraced him. Hiruzen smiled as he saw father as son, reunited at last. You don't know how long I've waited to do this, said Naruto, Minato wiping the tears away from his eyes. Suddenly his body began to disintegrate into dust and ash, his feelings for Naruto having freed his soul from the Edo Tensei. Naruto, tell me one thing before I go. Why did you join the Akatsuki? Asked Minato, Naruto looking up to his father. After you met me during my battle with Pain, I found him and discovered his name was Nagato Uzumaki. We talked and from him I took on his wish to bring peace to the world. If I didn't, I would be disgracing his wish and Jiraiya-sensei's will, since Nagato was Jiraiya's pupil once as well, said Naruto, Minato smiling as his color disappeared. Well then, I guess it's not my right to get in your way. No matter what you do, Naruto, I'll love you, Naruto. Your mother Kushina would be too. Thanks, Dad, smiled Naruto as he hugged his father one more time before he stood back, allowing Minato's body to crumble into a pile of ash, a Zetsu clone lying in the pile. Naruto looked up at the other Hokage and saw them prepare to fight. I shall take my leave, but not without a parting gift, said Naruto before he sucked in air. Kaijitan Jigaken no Ian no Hano, he said as he threw his head forward, a huge wave of fire rushing towards them. Amaterasu! Yelled Sasuke, a huge ball of black fire erupting across the red fire, and to Sasuke's surprise yet again, The black flames of Amaterasu were being decimated by the fire, but did serve to stop it from reaching them. By then Naruto had already escaped the area, becoming a Bijuu, having the power to break through Susanoo itself and a jutsu that can eat away the flames of Amaterasu itself. Just what have you become, Naruto? Naruto reappeared from a column of fire back in his study, Konan and Akiyuri spinning around to see him collapse to the floor. Holy shit, what happened? Gasped Konan as she and Akiyuri ran over to help Naruto up. A blob of his demonic chakra bubbled out from his stomach and formed into a separate body comprised of it, looking very similar to his version 2 state, only with 9 tails and a fox-like head structure. Naruto used our combined version 2 state before we could master it, and spent all of his chakra, said Kurama through the body as it helped the two women hold up Naruto's body and walk him towards the pod room. He was dripping with sweat and his chest was heaving in and out, exhausted beyond belief. What did you two do, fight? Asked Akiyuri with a grunt. Yeah, we did. With who? Asked Konan with a slightly annoyed glare at the Bijuu. Sasuke Uchiha and Kakashi Hatake, Naruto's former sensei and teammate. When we were fighting them though, Naruto completely snapped and announced he was going to destroy all of Konoha. He holds no feelings for anyone in the village now, said Kurama as they turned and walked Naruto to one of the pods. Great, now what are we going to do? Asked Konan as they laid Naruto down on one of the pods. This pod will keep him in a deep sleep, almost in suspended animation, so he can rest and recover. I will temporarily lead the Akatsuki in his absence, and commence the search for potential members. Konan, you can lead Amigakure in my absence while Kurama can train Naruto alone, said Akiyuri sternly while Kurama moved his hand over to Naruto. I have a better idea, he said as he placed his open palm on Naruto's stomach and transferred a darker colored part of his chakra into him. I've put my Yin chakra into him so it can train him while I on the other hand can be your partner, said Kurama as the chakra that made up his body began to form skin over it. Soon stood a man in an Akatsuki cloak with the cuff unbuttoned down to his mid-chest area, slicked back orange hair that ran down to his shoulders with a portion of it spiky in the front, and a silver necklace around his neck, similar to what Nagato's Deva Path wore. What do you think? Asked Kurama as he smirked a little. Perfect, since no one knows your real name, you can use Kurama as your name, said Akiyuri with an approving nod. I'll make sure Naruto is safe. Good luck to you too, said Konan as the two turned and left the pod room. Near Konohagakure, Kakashi walked side by side with Yugo and Sasuke, the latter holding his broken right arm to try and lessen the pain. Orochimaru had left them at the Valley of the End to return to his village, Odogakure, in Rice Country. How's your arm feeling? Asked Kakashi, Sasuke chuckling. I can't even feel it anymore. I can't believe Naruto is the leader of Akatsuki now, to think he started, Kakashi nodding his head in agreement. I never thought someone like him would fall so far. Now he hates us for what we've done to him. We can all thank Danzo for that. Danzo? You mean he's at the village? Yeah, but he's untouchable thanks to that damn council. It's all because of him that we're even in this mess. He and the council proclaimed that Naruto had become too much of a threat to the village after the invasion of Pain, and was ordered to give up his headband and leave the village, said Kakashi, his fists tightening in anger. Wow, that's harsh. Tell me about it, sighed Kakashi as silence retook the air around them. After another few minutes of walking, Kakashi said, let's agree to not reveal Naruto's identity to the council, or even to the village at all. It's better off that Tsunade and the others don't know. That goes for your friend as well. Of course, and his name's Yugo, said Sasuke, the tall orange-haired man nodding at Kakashi. Good, he said, letting the conversation end on the outside, but on the inside, Kakashi's mind was heavy with grief. I hesitated at striking my own student, which caused my other student to get injured. What am I supposed to do? I can't fight Naruto, it kills me to do so. What kind of sensei am I to allow one of my students get hurt like this just because I was afraid? He asked himself while mentally slapping himself. Naruto, I'm so sorry all this happened. If you truly are fighting for peace, I just hope you'll be able to not end up like Obito. He thought for the last time as Konoha's gates came into sight. Kakashi! Where were you? Asked Yamato, him and Guy running up to them. Look who I found, said Kakashi as he stepped aside, allowing Sasuke to step forward. Hey guys, he smiled weakly. Why is he here? I know you didn't capture him because he isn't cuffed with chakra-absorbing bindings, asked Guy in suspicion. Kakashi, let me explain, said Sasuke when Kakashi tried to explain the situation concerning the Uchiha. I know you may not believe me, but I've decided to return to the village after learning some valuable things from some important people. Orochimaru, whom I revived solely for this purpose, used the Edo Tensei to reincarnate the first Hokage, the second Hokage, the third Hokage, and the fourth Hokage so I could speak to them. He's telling the truth, I saw them for myself, said Kakashi very seriously, Yamato nodding, knowing to trust his friend's judgment. Very well, we'll deliver you to Tsunade and the council for your sentence, though I know that the council will probably pardon you, sighed Guy. He also a friend of Naruto that now despises the council and most prominently Danzo. Sasuke left with the two Jonin, Yugo glancing at Kakashi. You can take a walk around the village if you want or go with them, he said, Yugo nodding as he turned on his heel and slowly walked away, leaving Kakashi alone. The ninja sighed before walking slowly towards where his house was, wanting to be alone after today's events. It turns out that guy was right, Danzo and the council immediately pardoning Sasuke of every charge put against him. As they left, Tsunade looked at the awkwardly fidgeting Sasuke before her. "You are very lucky, Sasuke, but it pains me to tell you that Naruto isn't here," said Tsunade, finally breaking the ice. "Good, she doesn't know," thought Sasuke before calming down and responding, "He isn't? Where is he? Danzo and that damn council banished him from the village without my consent," growled Tsunade as she massaged her temples. Damn you Danzo, he thought as he fiddled his thumbs. "That council always pisses me off, thinking they're all high and mighty," he growled, true to every word. "Exactly. Which is why I have a remedy," said Tsunade as she pulled out a sake bottle from her secret stash and popped the cork. Sasuke sniggered as Tsunade downed half the bottle in a few seconds. She shivered a little then sighed as she set the bottle down and made the shoe motion with her hand. "You're free to go. Just don't go getting all revengeful again," said Tsunade, Sasuke nodding before getting up from the chair and exiting the office. Meanwhile, Kakashi had just entered his house and had immediately taken off his flak jacket and dropped it to the ground. He plopped down onto his couch and sighed deeply while pinching the bridge of his nose. He took off his headband and looked at it with both his eyes, his normal eye and his revered Sharingan eye, given to him by Obito when he was young. He threw it away against the wall and held his head in his hands, a soft clang echoing in the living room as the metal faceplate of the headband collided with the wall. He got up from the couch and walked over to his desk, cluttered with Ika books and shurikens stuck in the wood. His face turned into a scowl as he drew his hand across the desk, knocking all the books off in a waterfall of pages. He started to turn away but then double-taked as he looked back at one of the pictures sitting on his desk. He walked back and picked up the first one he saw, smiling a little at the sight of him and his old teammates, him on the right, a smiling Rin in the middle, a frowning Obito on the left, and a smiling Minato at the top with both his hands on Kakashi's and Obito's shoulders. He set it down and picked up the second, this time it being Team 7's photograph with him, Sakura, Naruto and Sasuke. He laughed a little at the younger Naruto scowling at Sasuke in the picture, as he remembered how those two were constantly trying to get better than the other. Then his smile faded as that young, spontaneous, obnoxious young man turned into the dark and evil man he witnessed today. "Naruto, where have you gone?" he asked as he rubbed his thumb on the picture, his eyes softening. He remembered Minato embracing his son and saying no matter what he's become, he will always love him no matter what. He smiled again as he set down the picture and turned it over, opening the glass frame that held it and extracted the picture from inside. He folded it up and pocketed it before bending down and picking up his favorite Ika book and doing the same to it. "This village has changed, I'm sorry Tsunade, but I can't stay any longer and live with people that won't accept a kid just because of something locked away inside him," he said aloud as he walked over to his headband and grabbed it to take it back over to the desk. He set it down on the desk and picked up one of the shuriken in his desk and held it above the leaf symbol. His head hovered over the headband and his hand shook, the copy ninja thinking this decision over, analyzing the consequences of his actions, then reanalyzing them again. The thoughts of doubt disappeared from his head as he brought down the shuriken's point and dragged it through the leaf symbol, a clear and distinct line speaking volumes. "I'm through with this corrupted village," he said as he got the headband and wrapped it around his forehead, not even bothering to pull it down over his left eye. He got up and picked up his flak jacket and slipped it back on, zipping it up and adjusting it a little before approaching the door. He opened it and took one last look into his home before shutting the door for good and leaping away. Naruto's psyche. "Everything hurts," moaned Naruto as he got up off the floor of the hallway, some snickering coming from behind him. "Ah, be quiet, Kurama," growled Naruto as he stretched his arm and looked back. He raised his eyebrow as he saw that Kurama had a darker shade of his orange fur and darker red eyes looking down onto him. "I'm Kurama's yin half, and as of right now, training will start. While my young half is with Akayuri in recruiting members, in the next year I'll be teaching you even more about the demonic release and how to properly control your version 2 state after 6 tails," said Kurama, Naruto nodding as he listened intently. "First off, let's go over the stuff you already know and have perfected," said Kurama as the hallway dissipated into a white empty space filled with nothing. "What is this place?" asked Naruto, Kurama smirking. "This is a place where Jinchuriki and their bijou can train in private. Right now this is all happening inside your head while you rest up and heal, but the experience you will have gained will be instantly transferred. Now, back to what I was saying," explained Kurama as a perfect Rasengan formed in the white space, hovering in the air beside Naruto. "The Rasengan, you have to form a shadow clone to help you form it. Now you can form one on your own and have increased its power by mixing negative Yin chakra into it," said the bijou, the Rasengan turning crimson. "The Rasen Shuriken, one that you've developed and have shown mastery over, with the perfected form having a wider radius, and can explode much like a small-scale bijou dama," continued Kurama, a blue spinning Rasen Shuriken appearing above the crimson Rasengan, it too becoming crimson in color. "The big ball Rasengan, formed with the assistance of a clone before, but after you could wield it with one hand and without the need of a shadow clone. The perfected form is just as destructive as the normal Rasengan, only on a wider scale. A crimson big ball Rasengan appeared beside the normal Rasengan. The Sage Mode variant of the big ball Rasengan, having a much larger size as compared to the original. With its perfecting after this training, you shall be able to form it with one hand and be able to use in conjunction with your version 2 form, without the use of Sage Mode. Said Kurama, a gigantic Rasengan appearing beside the big ball Rasengan, its color unchanging. Now that we know those techniques, with only the Sage Mode version of the big ball Rasengan being the only one we must perfect, and with your success with the demonic release jutsu I have already taught you, it's time to learn more high-level and deadly jutsu. Said Kurama as all the things around Naruto disappeared. He began to smile evilly and asked, which one first? Amigakure. Kurama and Akiyuri were currently in the lower floors of Pain's tower, standing before the ominous demonic statue of the outer path. Do you know how to get the other bijou out the statue? Asked Kurama as he crossed his arms, gazing up at the statue with distaste. I faintly remember the jutsu that Nagato had that could release the bijou from the statue, but I'm not sure. Here goes then, said Akiyuri as she formed a single seal with both hands. Fuin no jutsu shingara phantom yadorigan keifuju shiru. Said Akatsuki as she thrust her hand towards the statue. A single blue chakra dragon blasted out from her palm as struck the statue, phasing through its surface before forcefully drawing out the first beast, the Ichibi. Now! Yelled Akiyuri as she swung her arm around, the Ichibi flying over their heads into a red sealing pot forms from Kurama's chakra. Once the Ichibi was fully inside, Kurama slammed the lid down onto it and yelled, seal! Gray chains formed around the pot and effectively sealed the Ichibi. He formed 6 more pots as Akiyuri began to draw out the other bijou, eventually sealing all 7 that had even captured by the original Akatsuki. Now that we have all the bijou sealed, and how Naruto no longer needs the statue, I get to do this. Said Kurama as he raised his hand up towards the statue and started to concentrate his chakra into the center point of his palm. Kaijitan pointo Barenka Shometsu. Said Kurama, the statue instantly exploding in a ball of fire, contained within a dome of Kurama's chakra. When the smoke disappeared, the demonic statue of the outer path was no more. Now we can deliver these back to their villages. Said Akiyuri before she sensed a new chakra enter the room. I see you've noticed me enter. Akiyuri and Kurama turned to the sound of the voice, watching as a man entered the room, Kurama instantly recognizing him. You're Naruto's former sensei, Kakashi Hatake, said Kurama with narrowed eyes, the copy ninja chuckling as he stopped. Guilty as charged. Why are you here? Hissed Kurama before Kakashi pointed to his headband. Kurama saw the distinct slash through the lead symbol and nodded in understanding. Seems we've just gained a new member, smirked Kurama, Akiyuri eyeing Kakashi's emotionless face with her renegades. Very well, we will give you a cloak after we deliver the bijou to their respective villages. I will explain the plan on the way. Welcome to Akatsuki. Kakashi, Akiyuri and Kurama each took some of the sealing pots and departed from TW villages to drop them off at their villages. They left the Ichibi at Sungakure, the Nibi at Kumogakure, the Sanbai and Rokubi at Kirigakure, the Yambi and Gobi at Iwagakure, and the Nanabai at Takigakure. Inside Naruto's psyche, he was training vigorously with Kurama, learning all the jutsu from the bijou so he could use in his quest for peace. When Kakashi, Akiyuri and Kurama returned back to Amigakure, they had brought back a missing nin from Kusugakure named Naoshi Mayumi, Kusa's first attempt at a Kekei Genkai. He had shaggy teal hair and dark blue eyes that held not a single tinge of emotion within them. He wore a face mask and a black grass headband with flaps attached to it covering his ears. We'll provide link for the pic of him next. Kusa's attempt at a Kekei Genkai was called the Akuma no Ti, the hands of the devil. His arms from the elbow down had been cleaved off and replaced by machines that had 2 demon faces in either side. 3 claws at the end of each arm hold a silver sphere in their grasp, each having the kanji for hand engraved on it. When Naoshi runs his chakra through them, the claws release the balls and emit a purple mist from the vent underneath the sphere's resting spot in between the claws. With his chakra, Naoshi can form multiple, if need be, purple hands that can easily crush a man and can form spikes from each hand to make them deadlier. Kakashi and Naoshi got cloaks and were officially inducted into the organization and waited with the other members for the end of the year-long trial time and the awakening of their leader. 1 year later, Bijudama, Naruto, now 20 and transformed into his massive 8-tailed version 3 state, launched the gigantic mass of chakra at Kurama. The bijou drew his tails in front of him and formed a shield, stopping the ball in its tracks but still getting pushed back many yards before coming to a stop. He grunted as he flung the ball up over his head, a huge explosion following soon after. Well done, this now marks the end of our training. Smirked Kurama while he drew back his tails and walked over to Naruto. He shrunk back down to his normal size and returned back to his normal self. He had undergone another drastic transformation while training with the bijou. His hair was now wilder and hung down to his shoulders, its blonde color now replaced by blood red. His eyes had yellow sclera and the same red irises with slit pupils, the same as Kurama's. His height had changed from 5'10" to 6'2" and grown stronger as well, equal to that of 20 men. He wore the same necklace as Nagato's Deva Path wore, only its color was dark maroon. One last thing before we leave. Roll up your sleeve. Instructed Kurama, Naruto obliging by pulling up his Akatsuki cloak's left sleeve. Kurama then pressed his finger against Naruto's skin, steam starting to roll away from the contact point. After a few seconds, Kurama pulled back his finger, revealing a kanji seal on his shoulder that read Fox. "What is this?" asked Naruto as he shook his arm, the sleeve dropping back down around his arm. "That right there is a seal that allows you to utilize the Fox summoning contract. This contract has never been used by anyone ever," explained Kurama, a smile spreading across Naruto's face. His fangs glistened a little as he spoke. "Thanks. Let's go meet our friends now," said Kurama as the light of the empty space began to fade. Akiyuri, Kakashi, Kurama, Konan and Naoshi were all gathered around Naruto, anxiously waiting for him to wake up. Kakashi was surprised at how much Naruto had changed over the year since the last time he saw him at the Valley of the End. He had also thought back to Konoha, and how his former comrades had changed as well. He dismissed the thoughts as he and everyone else saw Naruto's fingers twitch. "Well, time to take my half back. Can't really have a bijou sealed into another bijou," said Kurama while he placed his hand on Naruto's chest. "What do you mean?" asked Kakashi, confused as to what the bijou meant. As a result of his training, Naruto has become more powerful than ever before, having mastered the demonic release and his tailed beast version 1, version 2 and version 3 states, he has shed his former humanity, said Kurama as he drew out his half from Naruto. Konan's eyes lit up in realization as she put 2 and 2 together to figure out what Kurama meant. "You don't mean?" "Yes, he has become a bijou as well, the second Kyuubi." As soon as he said these words, Naruto opened his red eyes and blinked, groaning a little as he pushed himself up. Kurama helped him down off of the pod and supported him as he regained his balance. "How you feeling?" he asked, Naruto smiling as he got his balance back and cracked his knuckles. "Powerful. Well, of course, your body is now completely made up out of my, or I should say your, chakra. You're no longer a human, but bijou just like me," said Kurama while Naruto scanned the crowd of Akatsuki members gathered around him. He was surprised as his gaze landed on Kakashi standing beside Konan and Naoshi. "Kakashi? What are you doing here?" "I came here out of my own free will. Turns out that Konoha really is corrupted, so I left. I couldn't bear to stick around with Danzo on the council." "Catch my drift?" said Kakashi as he flashed Naruto his slashed headband, the latter chuckling as he shook hands with him. He turned to Naoshi next and asked, "Who might you be?" "The name is Naoshi Mayumi, the former best poison crafter and assassin in Kusagakure." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki," said Naoshi with a small bow, Naruto returning the motion. Then he turned to Akiyuri and smiled as she walked towards him and embraced him in a hug. "Welcome back, Naruto," she said, Naruto resting his chin on her head and chuckling. "It's good to be back. Training alone was cool and all, but I miss you guys," he responded as he ran his hand through his hair and stepped away from Akiyuri. He gazed at the other members and asked, "What has happened while I was gone?" "We distributed the bijou that the Akatsuki under Obito's reign had captured to their former villages. As you can see, we also gained 2 new members as well," said Konan, Naruto nodding after she finished. "Well, the 1-year trial period is up and it's time to observe the other villages to see if they either passed or failed, and will be eradicated along with Konoha," said Naruto, throwing a quick glance at Kakashi to see if he would object. He didn't even receive a flinch. "So, Kurama, Akiyuri and I will go around to all the villages and see for ourselves, then once we return to Amigakure, we will systematically eliminate all who fail, leaving Konoha for last." "Any questions?" asked Naruto while he clapped his hands together. Silence. "Very well. Konan, keep Amigakure safe while we're gone, and take care of any trespassers. I will bring back any new members if we meet any." "It will be done." Naruto nodded as Kurama and Akiyuri walked over to stand on either side of him. Soon, they vanished in a swirling fire column. Konohagakure Hokage office. Tsunade was tired, angry, and sad all at the same time. It had been 1 year since Kakashi had gone missing and Sasuke's return to the village. Danzo and the council had made a big publicity statement about the return of the last Uchiha, with the villagers absolutely soaking it all up. He really did piss her off. Someone knocked on her door, and she looked up from behind her arms and droned, "Come in." The door opened and Yamato walked in, a look of concern on his face. "Tsunade, you done? Tea looks so good. Shikaku and the others are getting worried about you," he said as he took a seat before Tsunade, the latter sighing before leaning back in her chair. "It's nothing, Yamato. I'm just thinking." "It's about Kakashi, isn't it?" Tsunade sighed again and nodded slowly. "It's not just him, I'm thinking about Naruto as well. He did so much for the village, and they still rejected him. I miss him so much," said Tsunade before she opened one of her desk drawer and pulled out a light red diary, the Uzumaki clan symbol engraved in gold on its surface. "What's that?" asked Yamato, intrigued by the small book. "It's a diary that used to belong to Naruto's mother." "Kushina Uzumaki? The 4th Hokage's wife?" "Yeah, I'm glad I didn't. Show this to him, there's something in here that I still regret today," said Tsunade sadly before she returned it to the drawer and closed it shut. "As I was saying, Tsunade, you can, bother yourself with thoughts of the past. The others and I are angry about Danzo's actions, but what's done is done. We can't change it. We all just have to move on," said Yamato, even thought he hated those words so much. Tsunade was silent as she held her head in her hands and let out a deep breath. I guess you're right, I just wish Naruto didn't have to leave. I hope he doesn't end up like Sasuke, said Tsunade, Yamato nodding before he got up and proceeded to walk towards the door. Don't worry, Tsunade, everything will be fine, he said before he left the office. Somehow he knew that those words will come back and bite him in the ass something fierce. He never knew how right he was. Naruto, Akiyuri and Kurama found themselves in the dense forest surrounding Amigakure, probably half a mile away from the village. The first place we will be going to is Takigakure, said Naruto as he formed veiled straw hats for the three of them along with his kitsune mask. Doesn't Takigakure kinda have a bad history with Jinchuriki and Bijou, you know, with persecuting them and all? Asked Akiyuri while she placed her straw hat on top of her head and Naruto put on his mask. They may have changed, but we cannot let our guard down. When we enter the village, Kurama and I will mask our chakra, considering we're Bijou. We will stay 1 day and 1 night in the village to observe only, then once we have our results, we either leave or pretend to leave, returning to kill their current Kage and all who oppose us. We will spread a rumor that a mercenary, a Yokage, has taken control of the village, explained Kurama while he put on his. Let's go, said Naruto, the three of them heading out with him in the lead. Coincidentally, they had left at the earliest light of dawn, and by midday, had arrived just a few miles out from Takigakure. Suddenly Kurama stopped and sniffed the air, his eyes narrowed. I smell smoke, he said, Naruto and Akiyuri soon smelling the heavy and intoxicating feeling in their nostrils as well. Let's get a better look. Naruto leaped into the trees, Akiyuri and Kurama hot on his heels as they climbed towards the treetops of the dense forest. Naruto was the first to surface from the entanglement of branches and leaves, along with being the first to see the shocking sight unfolding before him. Takigakure had multiple large smoke columns rising into the air. Fires could be seen ablaze among the buildings of the village, and the giant tree it was centered around untouched, at least for the moment. Whoa, said Akiyuri as she emerged from the leaves, followed by Kurama. Takigakure appears to be under attack. How about we go, help them out? Asked Kurama with a smirk, Naruto nodding as he sprinted forward and leapt from the treetops, easily clearing the distance between them and the village. A Taki NBU operative in a light blue cloak was standing on a roof of one of the buildings in the southeast sector of the village with his squad, trying to assess the situation, when Naruto and company landed on the roof behind them. Are you Akatsuki? Asked the ANBU after turning around, Naruto gazing up at him with narrowed eyes. Is that a problem? He asked, the ANBU shaking his head. Not at all, actually, your help would be much appreciated at the moment. What's the situation? Asked Akiyuri. Our new Jinchuriki is rampaging through the village. All our attempts to stop him have been brutally eradicated. Why is that? Asked Kurama, suspicious of the reason behind it. His emotions are unstable sometimes, and even the slightest bit of sarcasm to him can put him on a rampage. This is the 3rd time this year, explained the ANBU as Naruto started to walk up the slanted roof to where he stood. Where is he? He asked, the ANBU pointing with his finger to a ghastly sight that made even Naruto's stomach turn. Over there, in that hell of a mess, said the ANBU, his finger directing Naruto's gaze to the north part of the village where the water around it was blood red and where the most fires and devastation was concentrated. What shook him the most was the 4 gigantic blood-red tendrils reaching maybe a mile high into the sky, slithering around like a snake and slamming down onto the village, leaving smashed houses coated with red liquid. It looked like all hell had broken loose. What is that? Asked Akiyuri when she reached the top of the roof, Kurama having the same reaction before he recognized the chakra emitting from the area. It's our Jinchuriki's Kekei Genkai, the Jaratsuna chi no Noroi, the vile blood curse, informed the ANBU, Naruto briefly thinking back to the Akatsuki member Haiden, and how he had ingested the blood of his victim in order to curse them, and then kill them. How does it work, and what's his name? Asked Kurama quickly. His name is Ketsueki Hateriso, and how the vile blood curse works is that he must ingest the blood of a victim first before he can utilize the Kekei Genkai. It allows him to use his own blood from his body to form gigantic tendrils like those from his back and form claws from his hands. It's very gory to watch him fight, said the ANBU, feeling a little queasy. Alright, we'll take care of this, you keep your men back, said Naruto as he stepped forward and launched himself off the roof, Kurama and Akiyuri following behind him. They landed near the hell zone and walked forward cautiously, eyeing the multiple dead bodies cluttering the streets and blood dripping everywhere. We need to hurry, Chomei, the Nanabai, is in distress. She's fearing for her life and worried about her Jinchuriki, said Kurama, Naruto nodding as they turned the corner of the street. They were all absolutely horrified at the sight laying before them. Dead bodies, horribly mutilated, were scattered everywhere, bits of rubble and debris spread around the area and blood covering the buildings, streets, everywhere. God have mercy, uttered Akiyuri as they walked past the gut-wrenching horror scene. Suddenly a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, Naruto and Kurama covering their ears in pain as the screech echoed out across the village. Akiyuri looked up and the sun became blotted out with red. Look out! She yelled before tackling Naruto and Kurama to the side, one of the gigantic tendrils slamming down through the buildings and street where they once stood, flattening everything. This is getting worse. If we don't stop him, he may destroy the village for us," said Naruto as the three got up and ran through the bloody streets of the Hell Zone in search for their quarry. Finally they found him in the center of a large courtyard. The magnitude of carnage was the worst here, with blood dripping from the massive tendrils flowing out from the man's back down onto the ground, splattering the red liquid everywhere. Even more bodies were centered around here, some of them Taki shinobi and ANBU. Naruto stepped forward and his foot hit a puddle of blood, making a squishing noise. Katsuki heard the sound and turned his head to glare at them with rage-filled eyes, Naruto being able to get a good look of him. He had slightly tanned skin and rippling muscles, brown shaggy hair, and purple and green-hued plant-like scales on his body, on his wrists, and on his back, extending over his shoulders and around his lower chest as well. Link for picture art /Pharaoh Blood 566461120. Blood was dripping from his lips and down his chin as he growled bashfully at the three Akatsuki members, Naruto raising his hands. "Calm down, Katsuki, we don't want to hurt you," he said soothingly as he slowly made his way to the raging Jinchuriki, Kurama and Akiyuri ready to protect him at a moment's notice. Katsuki growled again as he clenched his fists, three long claws made from his blood extending out from his knuckles. "We're not going to hurt you. My name is Naruto. I know how you feel, Katsuki. You were ridiculed in the village, weren't you? Treated like shit, right?" asked Naruto, Katsuki's eyes widening as those words hit his ears. "I was a Jinchuriki as well. I can help you. I've felt that same pain for my entire life, ever since I was born. I can make that pain go away," continued Naruto. The closer and closer he got to the unstable Katsuki, the more danger he was putting himself in. "Ah, really?" asked the man in a broken voice. "Yes, just let us help you," said Naruto, now only a couple of feet away from Katsuki. "How do I know I can trust you?" asked Katsuki, Naruto pausing in his creep. "Because Chome, the beast is sealed inside of you. She's worried for you." "Chome? It's her name. She's worried about you. She doesn't like you like this," soothed Naruto as he got inches away from Katsuki. Just make the pain go away," cried Katsuki as tears began to roll down his face. Naruto nodding as he placed his hand against the man's chest, right over his heart, and sent a small pulse of his chakra through the man's heart, knocking him out. Instantly the blood tentacles disappeared and Katsuki fell into Naruto's arms, his eyes closed and mouth slightly ajar. The ANBU from earlier and a team of 10 other ANBU and Taki shinobi landed in the courtyard, one of them vomiting at the sight of the carnage. "God, this is the worst one yet. It's a miracle that you came along." "Thank you, Akuma. Call me Akuma," said Naruto, the man nodding as he sent 2 ANBU to fetch a stretcher. "We'll be staying overnight in the village, if that's okay with you," said Kurama, the man nodding. "I'll send word to our second Takakage, Shibuki," said the ANBU, sending one of the Jonin shinobi to send the message. Shibuki, I remember him. When I first came here it would be a shame that Takigakyo would have failed and I would have to kill him, thought Naruto as the 2 ANBU arrived with the stretcher the other had sent for and loaded Katsuki onto it to carry him. "A good day to you," said the lead ANBU as he departed with his team, leaving the 3 Akatsuki members alone. So you think? Are their intentions good?" asked Kurama as they turned around and began to walk away from the courtyard. I couldn't sense any ill intent from any of them. Takigakyo may have changed for the better," said Naruto before they leaped onto the rooftops. Night. They had been checked into a hotel in one of the better parts of the village after Katsuki's rampage. Naruto looked up at the darkening sky and performed a few hand signs before raising his hand towards the sky. "Yukojaizi no Jutsu," said Naruto, a clap of thunder echoing out from the clouds as a soft drizzle started to pepper the village. Slowly, he began to feel all of the chakra signatures in the village, thanks to the small amounts of chakra he fused with the raindrops. Suddenly he cringed at the spike of ill intent he felt in the center of the village, Naruto looking around until he found the source of it, the tree. He raced down the steps to their room and burst off the door, startling Kurama and Akiyuri. "Something's happening at that big tree in the center of the village. I sense a huge concentration of negative energy there," said Naruto quickly, Kurama and Akiyuri quickly leaping into action. "There's no time to waste, let's go," said Akiyuri as they ran out of the room, soon leaping from rooftop to rooftop towards the gigantic tree. They ran up its side until they entered the mess of branches and leaves, the rain splattering against their faces and cloaks through the leaves. They burst through a layer of leaves to see multiple cloaked figures gathered around a beaten and bloody Katsuki, chains wrapped around his limbs keeping him pinned against the tree. One of the men turned and narrow hissed at him, recognizing his chakra as that of the ANBU they had met earlier. "What so you think you're doing?" demanded Naruto, his rage growing towards these men. "We're punishing him for going berserk. He should know his place in our village," said the ANBU darkly, Naruto growling deeply. "You would join us if you know how we felt," said another, Kurama snarling at him. "Seems Takigakyo still has some sinful people loving inside of it. Allow me to show you my true side," snarled Marua as he instantly transformed into his 3-tailed version 1 state, almost blowing back the assemble's cloaked men. "He's a Jinchuriki too," shouted one before Kurama appeared in front of him and stabbed him through the heart with his hand. "Fools, we are no longer human nor are we a Jinchuriki. My name is Kurama, the 9-tailed demon fox. I will murder you all for torturing one of our kin's holders," roared Kurama, In a flash, him and Naruto laying waste to the men. In just a couple of seconds, the men were slaughtered, blood splattered everywhere, on the branches, on the leaves, and all over Kurama's and Naruto's cloaks. Naruto walked over to Kitsuaki and burned away the spiked chains before picking him up. Who are you? The one who will get retribution for these men's sins? Said Naruto as he leaped away from the gory scene with Akiyuri and Kurama, heading straight towards the Kage Tower. Shibuki was busy dealing with the nightmare known as paperwork when Naruto, Kurama and Akiyuri burst in through the door, carrying the barely alive Kitsuaki. Holy hell! What happened to him? Asked Shibuki as he rushed over to them. Some of your subordinates were torturing him for going on a rampage. We eliminated them for their sins, said Nero as he crossed his arms. What? Well then, thank you for doing that, said Shibuki as he turned his back on them. A very fatal mistake. A clawed hand burst out of his chest, his still beating heart oozing blood onto the ground in the hand's grasp. Your village failed under your leadership, and for that you must pay. I shall be taking over for you while you're away on a permanent vacation, said Naruto as he drew back his arm, letting Shibuki fall to the ground, a puddle of blood accumulating around his body. Lightning flashes outside and Akiyuri, for the first time, saw true rage in Naruto's blazing crimson eyes, making her shrink back in fear. His rage even unsettled Kurama, the Bijou praying for Konoha that they better be blessed with a quick annihilation from Naruto, and not a slow one, because Naruto would make them feel every single last ounce of pain ever imagined by man before you died. Naruto kneeled beside the barely breathing Kitsuaki and placed his palm on his chest, sending an influx of his chakra through his system, and healing him. Kitsuaki coughed and looked up at Naruto with tired eyes and said, "Thank you." "Of course," said Nero with a small smile, Kitsuaki returning the gesture before falling into a deep sleep. "So I guess he's going with us?" asked Kurama. "He's going to be one of our members. His Kekkei Gakkai is interesting, and he would be a powerful ally. Plus, he's been treated the same way I had. I can't leave him like this. I owe him that," said Naruto as he hoisted the sleeping Jinchuriki in his arms and walked towards the door. "You, hello? Can you hear me?" asked a feminine voice inside Naruto's head, making him stop in surprise. "Who is this?" asked Naruto, the voice silent for a second. "My name is Chomei, I'm the Nanabai." "You're carrying my Jinchuriki?" said the voice. Of course. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the second Kyuubi you could say." "Second Kyuubi? I thought you were Kurama." "Where is he?" "I'm right here, Chomei. Naruto's a friend, don't worry. He was once my former Jinchuriki before he became a Bijou like us," spoke Kurama, Chomei silent once again. "Oh, okay. Well, what I wanted to say was thank you for saving my Jinchuriki. I just couldn't stand to watch him get hurt like that anymore." "I'm in your debt," said Chomei. "Of course. He'll be safe from now on," said Naruto, Chomei saying farewell before her presence in his mind disappeared. Suddenly Naruto found himself walking beside Akiyuri and Kurama towards the gate of the village, people cowering away from them. "Whoa," said Naruto while Kurama smirked at him. "Bijou telepathy does that to you," he said before laughing, Naruto joining him as they walked out of the office. Taki Gakure scratched off their list of villages. They returned to their hotel room as gathered up their supplies before leaving the village with Kitsuaki in tow, Naruto being the one who carried him in a gigantic hand made out of his demonic chakra extending out from his back. In Konoha, it was the 1-year anniversary of the banishment of the demon boy and the entire village was celebrating, while almost everybody. Naruto's friends and acquaintances were grieving over his banishment, and hoping that he was still alright, including Sasuke, and a certain Suna shinobi inside the village. I must inform Lord Kazekage of this, thought the man as he quickly left the village. -5 days later, Tsunagakure Gaara's office. In all his life, Kankuro had never been more afraid of his brother. Gara had heard the news of the celebrations in Konoha and had become furious, almost strangling the man with his sand if not for Temari, who had managed to calm him down somewhat. Even Shikaku, the Ichibi, who had been resealed inside of him per his orders, was afraid. Gara, it couldn't have been everybody in the village. Tsunade and Naruto's friends couldn't possibly have been celebrating, reassured Temari, trying to reel Gara away from a decision he wants to make. "I know, but I'm still going to do it. Kankuro, send a message to Konoha stating we shall discontinue all trading in between our two villages and that we are no longer allies. If any Konoha shinobi is caught inside Wind Country's borders, they will be jailed or killed on sight, depending on my mood. Send a copy of this message to the Wind Daimyo as well," ordered Gara, Kankuro glancing at his sister. "Gara, Kankuro, do it now," growled Gara, his tone alone making Kankuro's skin crawl. "Of course," Lord Kazekage shuddered Kankuro as he got up and left the office. "Gara, is this wise?" asked Temari, Gara sighing before leaning on the desk with his elbows. "Temari, Naruto and I are very similar. We were treated the same when we were young, considered outcasts and shunned by all who looked upon us. For Konoha to do something such as this, acting like his existence was never meant to be and celebrating about it that, Temari, is a sin," said Gara, spitting in disgust of the village he once regarded as an ally. "And like all sins, they must pay." He finished before he closed his eyes, a signal to Temari that meant he needed to be alone. "I hope you're right," said Temari before she stood up from her chair and followed after Kankuro. Lightning Country. Katsuki had woken up halfway on their journey to Lightning Country and had asked some questions he needed to know, Naruto being the one who answered all of them. Naruto had given him his black travel cloak for him to wear until they returned to Amigakure so he could receive a Akatsuki cloak. After that, the trip was silent the rest of the way. We're close to Kumogakure, said Naruto, the first words spoken since Katsuki had woken up. They continued down the beaten path through the mountainous terrain of Lightning Country until they spotted the familiar mountains that Kumogakure sat in between. Well, only to Naruto, of course. Let me handle this, said Naruto as they approached the heavily guarded gates of the village set in between two large mountains with pillboxes built into the stone. 4 ninjas in black and red cloaks, the Akatsuki. Send word to Lord Reikage immediately. When the group got close to the gate, a platoon of Kumo ANBU dropped down from the gate and stood in their path, the ANBU captain possessing a mask that looked like a bird with 2 large horns extending out from the top of the mask. Akatsuki, come with us. Lord Reikage has requested an audience with you, asked the ANBU captain, Naruto glancing back at his comrades before shrugging and looking back at the ANBU. His eyes narrowed behind his mask. Very well, lead the way, captain, he said, the gates to the village opening to allow them to pass through into the village. Reikage's office. Bro, you'd be crazy for thinking Arashi's ready, said Killer B, A's brother and Jinchuriki of the Hachibi. Then what do you propose we do with the Nibi? We've had no one else that was compatible with her like Yujito was until today, and we might not have another chance like this again for a while, said A, the 4th Reikage. Before the doors to his office opened, the platoon of ANBU walking inside followed by the 4 Akatsuki members. Akuma, welcome back, greeted A as Naruto approached the desk after all the ANBU, except the captain, exited from the office. A pleasure, Lord Reikage, greeted Naruto with a bow while he crossed his arms and eyed one of the members with orange hair, and especially this Akuma person. I see you've gained some members, said A. Yes, the Akatsuki is growing nicely. Did you hear about what happened to Takigakure? Asked Naruto, the Reikage nodding as he leaned back in his chair. Yes, I did. Not a single survivor. I heard it was destroyed by a man known as the Hokage. Naruto smirked as he thought. Rumors spread quickly. Yet, Naruto was snapped out of his thoughts as A motioned towards Katsuki. Standing before me now is a Taki shinobi, said A suspiciously, Naruto silently cursing at the unslashed-Taki headband hanging loosely around Katsuki's neck. That is true. This is the sole survivor of the village's destruction, Katsuki Hadoriso, said Naruto, Katsuki bowing slightly towards the Reikage. That ain't all, Gyuki sensing the nanabi sealed up within him, said B, A's eyes narrowing while Naruto sighed. That is also true, he is the Jinchuriki of the nanabi. We rescued him from the destruction of the village. You see, well, whenever I get angry, I can't control my emotions and I go on a rampage. I destroyed half the village before they showed up and were able to stop me before killing any more innocent lives, said Katsuki, confirming some of A's suspicions. Then why are with them? He asked, Naruto being the one that answered. We took him with us so as to provide salvation for him. He was being tortured by a group of Taki shinobi and ANBU that were punishing him for his rampage, which technically wasn't his fault. We killed them and left the village in flames for this unrighteous act, said Naruto, A's gaze staring at Naruto like sharp knives. Which means, yes, I am the Hokage as well, confirmed Naruto with a nod. Wait a minute, Gyuki's sensing something else. He's feeling the Kyuubi's chakra from him, interrupted B while he pointed at Kurama first, then at Naruto. Care to explain? Questioned A as he set his remaining arm on his desk and eyed Naruto. I guess the cat's out of the bag. We can reveal our chakras now, Kurama, said Naruto, A starting to feel the demonic chakra seep out from the two of them. First off, to explain why this is, allow me to tell you that Kurama is not actually a human, he continued, A's eyebrow rising in confusion. This is merely my human form. In actuality, I'm the Kyuubi, said Kurama, B and A both becoming shocked. Second, the reason why I possess Kurama's chakra, or actually my chakra, is because I have changed since the last time anyone has seen me. I have mastered the Kaijutan, the demonic release, and have become a Bijou myself. Essentially, I am the second Kyuubi. The reason why I was able to was because I was once Kurama's former Jinchuriki, said Naruto as he took off his straw hat, revealing his blood-red hair and pierced ears. Akuma, just who are you? Asked A, Naruto raising his clawed hand to his mask and grasped it, the porcelain morphing into his demonic chakra and phasing into his hand. A's eyes widened at the slashed Konoha headband visible from in between Naruto's fingers. My real name is Naruto Uzumaki, former Jinchuriki of Konohagakure, the Akatsuki leader, and now the Hokage, said Naruto, B and A receiving another gut-wrenching shock. Damn son, what a shock that is, said B while A's mouth opened and closed, no words escaping from his lips. Naruto? Tsunade is worried sick about you, he said, Naruto smirking, revealing his sharp fangs. Oh really? I'll say hi to her before Konoha burns to the ground with everyone in it. Why's that? Asked before Naruto extended out his right arm to him, a chakra receiver forming in his hand. Grab onto this. A looked at him wearily, doubtful about the rogue ninja's words before he lifted his hand up and grasped the rod. Instantly, in a matter of seconds, A experienced Naruto's entire life since his birth through memories locked deep inside him. He saw how his mother and father died, how he was treated like utter trash as a child, how everyone hated him throughout his entire life. The images overwhelmed him and it shook him to the very core, constricting his heart and soul with grief and anguish. He let go of the rod and blinked, Naruto looking at him without words, A returning his gaze and blinking again. My god, that was just wow, he stuttered, be surprised at how shaken his brother was, the invincible Reikage, the most respected and most powerful ninja in the entire village, completely blown away. You aight, bro? He asked, slowly nodding in response to the question. Yes, I'm fine, I can't believe how they treated you, I understand now, said A as he looked at Naruto once again after he disconnected the chakra receiver from his arm and turned it into his chakra, absorbing it back into his skin. So, what do you want to say? Asked Naruto, waiting to hear the Reikage's answer, which would decide if he either spared Kumogakure or utterly annihilated it. Your reasons for burning Konoha to the ground are just. The Hokage has Kumo's full support, said A after finally regaining his posture as leader of his village. Thank you, said Naruto with a small bow, finally noticing the pair of renegades peering out at him from one of the members standing the closest to Naruto. I see you've noticed my partner and second in command. This is Akiyuri, the former Azure Path of Pain of the original Akatsuki's leader Pain, otherwise known as Nagato Uzumaki, said Naruto, Akiyuri taking off her straw hat and smirking at the Reikage. A pleasure, he responded with a nod of the head. Now down to business. Since you saw all of my memories, you now know that our HQ is Amigakure and that I plan to go to all the other villages and judge them, either letting them live like Kumo, or destroy them like Taki. I must ask you that you and you captain over there keep this information classified, as well as my identity as the Hokage, said Naruto, nodding with his brother, the ANBU captain being the last to agree. Of course, Lord Hokage, we will keep in contact through a summon of mine that has a direct link to either Kurama or I, said Naruto as he pressed his hand to his left shoulder, the seal on his arm underneath the sleeve glowing. Kuchios no Jutsu. A small puff of smoke appeared on the desk. Taking its place after it drifted away was a small fox kit with orange and red fur, a dark diamond resting on its forehead. Tenzin, stay with the Reikage and act as a messenger between him and I, ordered Naruto, and the small fox obliging with a bow. Of course, QB Naruto, said the fox before it turned and leaped up to A's shoulder, taking its seat there and watching as Naruto smiled a little. Now one more question, any idea where a snake might hide? 1 week later, Tsunade was beyond stressed. She was dealing with pleas from the villagers to increase the security of the village due to the destruction of Takigakure by this mysterious Hokage, and that Kumo had recently allied themselves with the mercenary. She also had a message from Suna stating that they are no longer allies, and no trade shall be made between them any longer. She guessed that a Suna shinobi had reported to Gara, Naruto's friend of course, along with being the 5th Kazekage, after seeing the events hosted last night. Why are things spiraling out of control? We can't afford for this to happen. We're still rebuilding our strength after the invasion of Pain, thought Tsunade before the door opened, Yamato walking into the office. What's the news? She asked, the former ANBU member and comrade of Kakashi rubbing the back of his neck. Not a lot, but I am getting a lot of activity being reported from Amigakure. With the village being more and more secluded each day, the walls are growing higher and the buildings at night growing darker and darker. It's as if someone doesn't want to be seen and noticed, yeah, said Tsunade with a slow nod. It's almost like when Jiraiya left to go find Pain, finished Tsunade with a heavy heart, still missing the super pervert's obnoxious but comforting voice and words. It's deja vu all over again, and I'm having a bad feeling about this, said Yamato ominously, Tsunade sighing as she turned her chair around and gazed out into the night sky above the village through her office's windows. Could this be payback for what we allowed to happen to Naruto? Orochimaru was pacing in the throne room of the Kage building in his rapidly growing village Otogakure, the Hidden Sound Village, when an Oto shinobi burst through the doors and quickly bowed. What is it? Demanded Orochimaru, the ninja frantically gathering his words. 4 ninjas spotted approaching the village, bearing red and black cloaks. Akatsuki? Described them. They were all wearing straw hats, but from what we could tell, one was wearing a white mask. I wonder why you're coming to my village, Naruto? Let them pass, ordered Orochimaru as he turned to walk towards his throne. But sir, do not question your Kage. Besides, I know one of them, smirked Orochimaru before sitting down on the throne to wait. After the Oto shinobi left with the message, a few minutes passed before the doors opened once again, the snake Sannin smirking at the 4 Akatsuki members. Welcome to my humble abode. For what reason may I ask? He asked, Naruto taking off his straw hat and dropping it to the floor. Cut the bullshit, snake. I've come for something I know only you can do. And what might that be? Asked Orochimaru, intrigued by his proposition. I want you to use the Edo Tensei to bring back the 3rd demon brother, said Naruto, Orochimaru's eyes narrowing at how Naruto knew about the revered 3rd demon brother. How does he know about the 3rd demon brother? That information is supposed to be classified, thought Orochimaru, while a small smile spread across his face. Oh ho, you did come to the right person then, Although, why do you want to bring him back, and if so, do you even have a DNA sample? Naruto smirked as he held up his right hand, a single strand of dark silver hair in between his index finger and thumb, Orochimaru silently cursing to himself. Here's your sample, said Naruto, Orochimaru snickering as he got up off the throne and extended his arm out, a single white snake slithering out from his sleeve and going up to Naruto and taking the hair strand. He got a scroll and placed the hair strand in the middle of the seal painted onto the scroll before laying it neatly on the ground at his feet. He stomped his foot onto the seals required for the Edo Tensei extending outward from the scroll, the black circle where the sacrifice needed for the jutsu vacant. Do you have someone you are willing to sacrifice? Asked Orochimaru, Naruto forming a single seal with his right hand, a mortally wounded bandit appearing beside him. The bandit thought he could steal off of them, and had paid dearly with almost his life, Naruto remembering he needed someone for this. Here, take him, said Naruto as he threw the man into the black circle, dark maroon chains forming and binding his arms and legs so he couldn't get away. Orochimaru nodded as he formed a string of hand signs before saying, Kuchios Edo Tensei. Naruto watched as dust and ash started to accumulate around the barely alive bandit, and cover his body, his screams of pain music to Naruto's ears. Soon, after a minute of screaming, a man with a tattered black cloak on with a blood-red diamond on the back with red-ringed sleeves stood before them, his slash-kiri headband bearing 3 black horns welded to the headband's faceplate, and a rebreather over his mouth. He had 2 red scars running across his right eye, and on both arms were gauntlets outfitted with poisoned claws and a drum stored inside the gauntlet around his arm that contained a poisoned shuriken chain. Naruto smiled as he formed a single seal and, to Orochimaru's surprise, brought the man's coffin around him and put him away for future use. How the hell? You can't possibly know how to use the Edo Tensei? Gasped Orochimaru before Naruto smirked as Akiyuri raised her right arm. Thank you for your contribution, Orochimaru. Your services are no longer needed, he said, multiple segmented missiles sprouting from Akiyuri's wrist. Why, you little prick? Growled Orochimaru before Akiyuri launched the missiles at him, forcing him to leap back and weave in between the missiles, explosions from them ripping apart the throne room. Goodbye, snake. Kaijatan Akuma no Jijika, said Naruto, Orochimaru's curse being cut off as a dark maroon pole exploded out from the ground and impaled Orochimaru through his entire body, exiting from his open mouth and holding him several feet above the ground. As blood poured down from his mouth and down his body, his arms jerked outward as 2 more poles sprouted from the first, extending through his arms before exiting from his open palms, crucifying Orochimaru on a devilish cross. Naruto looked back at Katsuki, Kurama and Akiyuri and said, Destroy the village. I want them all slaughtered. As night fell onto Odogekure, the gigantic forms of 2 foxes stood above the village and ripped it to pieces, explosions tearing apart the city from ruined buildings causing gigantic smoke columns to rise into the air, and towering tentacles of blood swept through it all, decimating everything in their way. 2 days later. What do you mean Odogekure is destroyed? Shouted Tsunade, Yamato having just told her about the destruction of Orochimaru's village and his death. That's just it, the village was totally decimated and Orochimaru's body was found crucified on a cross formed out of dark maroon rods. It looked like the work of this Hokage character, said Yamato, Tsunade growling about the fact that this Hokage was decimated entire villages without even a hint of struggle. This Hokage is becoming more of a problem every day. We need to take care of whoever he is, fast, before he poses a threat to Konoha, said Tsunade, Yamato wholeheartedly agreeing with her. I'll make sure Jiraiya's spy network keeps a very sharp eye out for his next location. Good luck, Yamato, said Tsunade as he left, sighing as the door closed before taking out a bottle of sake. Near border of Rice Country, Naruto and company had stopped to rest in a small clearing of trees near the border of Rice Country so Naruto could observe their new supposed ally. Naruto summoned the man Orochimaru had brought back with the Edo Tensei and looked him up and down. Alright, who is this guy again? Asked Katsuki, clearly confused as to who the man was. Ever heard of Kiri's demon brothers who assisted Zabuza Momochi and Kisame Hashigaki in trying to overthrow the 4th Mizukage? Well, everyone knows Goza and Meizu, the ones who escaped from the village with them, but no one has heard of the 3rd. His name is Sankaku Matsuda, the 3rd demon brother, and the strongest among the 3. He provided a distraction so his comrades could escape from the village. He fought against overwhelming odds, some say against some 200 Kiri shinobi and ANBU, and slaughtered nearly all of them until he was finally killed. He was an honorable man and would die for his comrades. I wanted him reincarnated so I could have him join the Akatsuki, explained Naruto as he formed a single seal, the man jerking a little as he was activated. He blinked a couple of times before he asked, Where am I? What happened to my brothers and Zabuza and Kisame? Sankaku, first off, they made it out alive from the village, said Naruto, the demon brother exhaling a sigh of relief. Thank God. Tell me, who are you people and what has happened to them? Asked Sankaku, looking from one person to another until he rested his gaze on Naruto. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and this is Kurama, Katsuki Hadariso and Akiyuri. We're part of the Akatsuki. Kisame mentioned something about the Akatsuki as we fled. I think he wanted to join them, said Sankaku, faintly remembering the memory. Yes, he did. But I will break the news to you. You've been dead for over 20 years, and Zabuza Momochi, Kisame Hashigaki, Zabuza's right-hand man Haku have all been killed, with your brother's whereabouts unknown," said Naruto, Sankaku's eyes widening in shock as he clutched his chest and felt his heart shatter. "What?" he stuttered, Naruto placing his hand on his shoulder. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said, smirking behind his mask. "I'll keep the part about I being involved in Zabuza's death and Haku's death at Kakashi's hands to myself," he thought as he took his hand off Sankaku's shoulder and placed it on his chest. "Right now you are technically not alive. You have been reincarnated through the Edo Tensei, a forbidden kinjutsu that allows the caster to call back the souls of the dead and latch them onto a sacrifice's body. What I'm going to do is bring you fully back to life," said Naruto as he closed his eyes. "How will you do that?" asked Sankaku, unaware of Naruto's status as a Bija. "Well, I'm a Bija, you know," smirked Naruto as he began to apply his chakra to Sankaku's body. "Kaijatan Akuma no Jukuna Jigakuri Baibaru," said Naruto, a wave of chakra shooting out across Sankaku's body, instantly destroying most of the dust making up his body. His back split open and out came the withered and emaciated body of the sacrifice, his body instantly turning into dirt and blowing away. Then Sankaku's body started to reform, color returning to his face and skin, the cracks fading away and his eyes returning to normal, without the black scara. Naruto stepped back as his body completely reformed, smoke pouring off of his skin as he flexed and breathed in through his rebreather. "I can feel once again." "Thank you," said Sankaku, Naruto nodding his head. "Come on, we have to get to Sunagakure," urged Kurama, Naruto turning to take the lead of the group and lead them towards the village. They walked for what seemed like hours, entering the burnt embers forest, a large expanse of trees that looked dead and devoid of life. The ground was covered in ash and soot, crunching slightly underneath their footfalls. Suddenly Naruto felt a spike of chakra to his left and yelled, "Scatter!" Everyone dove away in a different direction as a huge stream of fire shot past them and completely disintegrated a row of trees into nothing. Naruto snapped up off the ground and looked into the trees, trying to see the attacker. He saw nor sensed anyone in the area. "Where the hell did that come from?" yelled Akuyuri as she scanned the trees as well. "Wait a minute, I recognize this place now that I look at it," said Sankaku with narrowed eyes. Suddenly 3 gigantic fireballs shot out from the forest and arched towards them, the light shining on their faces from the fire. "Suetun Suikoden no Jutsu!" yelled Sankaku while simultaneously shooting his right arm forward, a huge explosion of water shooting out from his palm and forming a large shark. The fireballs and the water shark collided in a huge explosion of steam, with the superheated fireballs completely decimating the water and exploding around the group. When the smoke cleared, Akuyuri opened her eyes to see a dome of Naruto's demonic chakra surrounding them, having protected them from the explosion. "Everyone all right?" he asked, receiving a short nod from everyone before he dissipated the dome. "Show yourself, coward!" shouted Naruto, getting a little irritated by the attacks from the cover of the multitude of trees. Suddenly a deep, mocking laugh echoed out from the trees, chilling them a little. "Oh, so the little man speaks well, you can go ahead and shut your trap. You have no right to call me a coward," said the voice, Naruto snarling at the remark. "Who are you, and why did you attack us?" demanded Kurama while trying to sense the attacker's chakra. "I should be the one asking you who you are. You've entered my territory, and plus I was going to go kill that damned snake, but you got in my way. Thanks to you, I lost the chance to slaughter that snake. The least I can do is kill you in retribution," said the voice again. "You're making a big mistake. You have no idea who you're dealing with," snarled Naruto, the laugh re-emerging once again. "Oh, I have a pretty faint idea, brat. You lot are Akatsuki. I know from experience that you guys are a bad bunch. Then again, so am I. You guys are wanted all across the continent. Me on the other hand am wanted in every single country on the asterisk planet, mind you, for murder, manslaughter, arson, burglary, fraud, you name it. I'm public enemy number 1 and I'm so famous, they had to make an entirely new classification for what I am. You guys are all S-class while I am a Z-class criminal, the number 1 most wanted man in the world," said the voice somewhat cockily, Naruto surprised at this person's reputation. "Who am I, you ask? I am the Vermillion Bird, scourge of the world and currently, the most dangerous man alive," announced the man before a huge flare of chakra appeared around the group. "And now you die. Mokutan Mori no Kamigami no Dansu," shouted the voice, the trees surrounding the group of 4 instantly coming to life and throwing their branches at them, fast enough to break bone. Naruto ducked under a swipe from one before his legs were taken out from under him by an unearthed root. "Kaijatan Jigaka no Hai!" he yelled, his eyes glowing as the branches and trees around them burst into flames, disintegrating on the spot. He spun around and he stopped dead in his tracks at the sight of the figure standing beside Akuyuri, a hand on her shoulder, keeping her in place. He stepped towards her, but the cloaked figure raised his other arm, a sharp wooden pike extending out from his palm and hovering inches away from her neck. "Not so fast, one more step and this place is about to become a little red," said the man from behind his hood, Naruto narrowing his eyes at the visible smirk and cigar from underneath the large hood. "You just crossed the line," snarled Naruto as he instantly entered his six-tailed version 2 form, the large burst of demonic chakra blowing past the Vermillion Bird, making his cloak flap behind him. The man chuckled as he let go of Akayuri and stepped to the right a little while snapping his knuckles. How about a little competition? We both launch our most powerful jutsu, and whoever's jutsu wins decides the victor. If you win, I let you go. If I win, well, you know the rest, said the Vermillion Bird, Naruto lowering himself and narrowing his eyes. Sounds fine by me, said Naruto, the Vermillion Bird smirking again as he leaped back, Naruto doing the same. He blew out a smoke ring from his cigar before he formed a single hand sign, followed by the ram and finally tiger seal before he bellowed, Katan Teoshin no Sadaina Tawaringuen no Tatsumaki. He swung his hand down a couple of inches above the ground and blew out a huge burst of fire that spiraled up high into the sky and formed a gigantic fire tornado, dwarfing the surrounding area. Bijadama! Roared Naruto, the ball of super dense positive and negative yin-yang chakra forming in front of his mouth and launching at the tornado speeding towards them. The two objects collided, grinding up against each other in a match of power. It seemed as if the Bijadama was going to win the match before the fire tornado started to rotate faster and faster, generating a vortex of air around the tornado that formed a second layer grinding against the ball, slowly deteriorating it. The Vermillion Bird smirked as he raised his right foot up and slammed it into the ground, cracking the ground and sending part of it exploding upward and forming a ramp that the fire tornado ran up and pushed the Bijadama up into the air along with the tornado. The ball exploded in a huge sphere of energy and fire, sending a huge shockwave slamming down onto them, making a huge gale force wind radiating outward and blowing back and even uprooting some of the trees. The Vermillion Bird's cloak was ripped away from the force of the shockwave, Naruto opening his eyes and gasping at who the Vermillion Bird was. He was a man somewhere in his 30s with red auburn hair fashioned into a mohawk and black earrings in his ears and a 5 o'clock shadow. He had a simple blue shirt on underneath a cloak he wore that was gray, black and white in color. What surprised Naruto the most was the red Uzumaki clan symbol present on the shoulder of his right sleeve. Link dash. Art/image 414570701. The man smirked as he dusted himself off and looked at Naruto as he reverted back to normal, staring at him wide-eyed. What's that on your shoulder? Asked Naruto, the man looking at the clan symbol and chuckling. Just the symbol of my clan and village. Before it was destroyed I loved the village, and when I heard of its destruction, I vowed to repay every single last drop of blood shed by the ones who attacked it, said the Vermillion Bird with a small smile. You're part of the Uzumaki clan? From Uzushio-gakure? Asked Naruto with a quivering voice, the man nodding. Suzaku Uzumaki, pleased to meet you, after the fact, introduced the man with a curt little bow, Naruto slowly smiling as his mask disappeared, Suzaku being able to see his face. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My mother's name was Kushina Uzumaki, he said, Suzaku's eyes widening at the name. Kushina? Holy shit, you're her son! He sputtered before he laughed out loud. Damn, guess she really did get together with Minato. Good for her, he said again, Naruto chuckling as he approached Suzaku. You knew my mother? Just how old are you? Of course. I was, after all, the one who brought her to Konohagakure in the first place. I watched over her from the shadows and it pained my heart to leave her when I heard about my village's destruction. My heart shattered when I heard both she and Minato were killed in the Kyuubi's attack on Konoha, and how they had sealed the demon into a young boy their son. And as to my age, I'm 71, said Suzaku before he looked at Naruto. Yes, that is true. Allow me to actually introduce the Kyuubi himself. Suzaku, meet Kurama, said Naruto as Kurama walked forward and stood by Naruto before taking off his straw hat. A pleasure, said Kurama, Suzaku eyeing him viciously. I want to tell you this now, Kurama and I at first hated each other, but we've become allies and friends as well, since we've discovered a common enemy, hence my joining of Akatsuki. And what enemy is that? Asked Suzaku, Naruto's tone darkening as he narrowed his red eyes. My former village, Konohagakure, he said, Suzaku's eyes widening at the sight of his Konoha headband, something he hadn't noticed till now. What? Why? Because of all the pain I endured while staying there for the 20 years of my life. I also was inspired by another member of our clan, Nagato Uzumaki. He was once the former figurehead and original second in command of Akatsuki. Ah, Nagato. I remember him as well. He possessed the Rinnegan. And I see that lovely woman over there has it as well. Care to explain? Said Suzaku, Akayuri smirking as she took off her straw hat and pulled back a strand of her hair. Akayuri, former Azura Path of the 6 Paths of Pain. Nagato was its leader as the Outer Path, she said, Suzaku bowing in her direction. So I get that, but I still don't get why you hate Konoha so much, said Suzaku before Naruto sighed. For my entire life, because of Kurama being sealed inside me, I was treated like an outsider and like shit. The villagers hated me and wanted me dead, calling me demon boy. They of course didn't care for who my parents were. They hated me and in turn I hate them. I will burn Konoha to the ground and kill every single last person in that damned village, growled Naruto, Suzaku shocked at what Naruto explained to him. Wow, that's harsh. Well, if they mess with one Uzumaki, they mess with me. Consider me a part of the Akatsuki now, boss. said Sasuke as he puffed out a smoke cloud from his mouth, the end of his cigar glowing brightly. Naruto smiled as he shook hands with the clansman and said, "Welcome to the Akatsuki Suzaku, Konoha Underground." In the underground of Konoha, a seedy place where people associated with the darker side of the village met, was where a group of cloaked men met every week with their leader. They kneeled in the center of a large bridge, the moon's light shining down onto them, their faces concealed behind animal masks, and their black cloaks. They looked like normal Konoha A&BU members, but they were not. These people are members of the disbanded A&BU faction Root, an organization that carries out underhanded missions that are aimed to only benefit Konoha in their eyes, but in others, they are selfish and less than respectable. Their leader? None other than the leader of the Konoha Council himself, Danzo Shimura. He approached the group of Root members and leaned on his cane, eyeing them all with his unbandaged eye. "Sir, what is the plan?" asked one of the members, a man with an eagle mask. "The plan doesn't change. Soon, we will remove Tsunade from the seat of Hokage and we will be on the path of restoring Konoha to its former glory. All we must do is wait." Naruto led the group once again, with Sasuke joining them on their round-trip journey. Akayuri was very annoyed with how he smoked a cigar every 5 minutes and how he seemed to have an unlimited supply of them. While they were arguing, Naruto was deep inside the recesses of his mind, chatting with Kurama, Katsuki and Chomei. They stood in their bijou forms in a white expanse, a place where only bijou and their Jinchuriki could talk. "This pull, it's getting stronger. I don't know why, but it just feels so familiar, like I've felt it before," said Chomei, Kurama nodding. "The same goes for me. I haven't felt this chakra in ages yet it feels so familiar. I've recently just joined the bijou as one of you and even I feel like I've encountered this chakra before," said Naruto as he clutched his chest, the heavy yet warm chakra radiating from that area. "What chakra is this?" asked Katsuki while looking from one bijou to the other, obviously confused as to what they were talking about. "We bijou have a very heightened sense of chakra radiating around, and the stream we're feeling is one so similar to us that it feels like we've encountered it before, yet it's one we haven't felt in eons. What's weird is that even Naruto can feel it, and he just became a bijou," explained Chomei to her Jinchuriki. "What I'm wondering is what if the other bijou and their Jinchuriki can feel it? Maybe it's some sort of call," said Kurama somewhat ominously. Kumogakure. Killer B was walking down one of the more well-known roads in their village beside his brother when he stopped in his tracks and wheezed while hunching over. "B, are you alright?" asked a frantically in worry of his brother. "Whoa, what a rush, such a large chakra gush. Rapped B badly, A face-palming before B stood back up. "B, you felt it as well, am I correct?" asked Yuki, B nodding. "Yuki felt it too, bro, and we both feel like this chakra is familiar," said B to his brother, A frowning. "What do you mean? Let me speak to him." B held out his fist to his brother, who nodded in understanding before he placed his fist against B's, Yuki establishing a link between them so he could talk to him. "What B means is that a wave of chakra hit us, and we both feel like that the chakra we felt is so familiar, like we felt it before," explained Gyuki, still confused. "But what does that mean?" "I don't know, but whatever it means, we're gonna find out by tonight," said Gyuki, a little worried himself about this. At the same time inside the Kahaku no Johei, Matatabi, the Nibi, felt the same wave of chakra and was shocked at it. Could it actually be you? "Grandpa?" Sunagakure. Gara was sitting at his desk, writing things down on multiple pieces of paper with his sand before an invisible wave of chakra struck him, making the sand shiver and crumble while Gara groaned in pain. He could feel Shikaka inside him shiver as well and tried to talk with it again. "Shikaka, can you hear me? Did you feel that as well?" he asked. A moment of silence between them before the deep, gruff voice of the Ichibi was heard. "Yes, I did. Did you recognize it? You're not one to shiver like that." I did. I haven't felt this chakra in forever." "Gara, tonight something is going to happen not only with us, but with the others as well." Iwagakure. Koko and Son Goku, the Gobi and Yambi, were walking freely without a Jinchuriki in the rocky expanse behind Iwagakure when the wave of chakra hit them like a brick, sending Koko sliding back a couple of yards. He glanced back at Son Goku with wide eyes and asked, "Please tell me you felt that as well, right?" "Yes, you know whose it is, don't you?" said Son Goku, receiving a slow nod from the giant bijou. "Then we must retreat into the mountains so we can be at peace when the time comes." "Of course," agreed Son Goku as the two of them made their way to the highest mountains in the world, the Grabakar Mountains, a land unreachable by man, but not by a bijou. Kirigakure. A young man with light yellow hair fashioned into a style that looked like a fin, Kisame's hairstyle, and a kiri headband around his head that also covered his ears and extending upward like a triangle, a combination of Kisame's and Kakuzu's headbands. Along with a black mask that covered his mouth attached to a navy blue hood, walked along a path on one of Water Country's smaller islands, was struck by the same chakra and knocked back a couple feet. "Holy shit! Isabu, you feel that?" he asked his bijou, Isabu, the sambai. "I did, and it was powerful. I bet Saiken felt it as well." "Let us hurry to him," responded the giant turtle, the man running now down the path to a large cave on the island. They walked inside to stand before a giant white slug, small arms and feet with 6 tails looking down onto them. "Yahiko, you felt it as well?" asked the gigantic bijou named Saiken, the Rokubi, The man named Yahiko taking off his mask, revealing a Glasgow smile and nodding. Yeah, I did. What do you think of it? Isabu is wondering this as well, said Yahiko, the bijou seemingly relaxing a little. I don't know, but if my calculations are correct, the other bijou should have felt it as well, including their Jinchuriki. We must be vigilant in watching to see if this phenomenon happens again, said Saiken, Yahiko nodding as he returned the mask to his face after spitting out something black. -6:00. Gara was, at the moment, not having a good day. The Suna Council was asking him to reopen ties with Konoha again, to consider the neutral rather than the hostile. However, Gara would hear none of it, and told them to let him handle things with Konoha his own way. Captain Yamato of Konoha wanted to share information about this Hokage as a means of rebuilding the alliance between their two villages, but Gara had turned him down. Alliances were meant for those that could be trusted to bring help when it mattered most. Konoha was not a place he could trust as an ally at the moment, not anymore with Naruto gone. Gara, said a voice that made Gara frown a fraction of an inch before he swept his arm around, a cloud of sand spitting out from his guard resting at his side, and launched at the intruder, only to be blown back by a wave of demonic chakra. Chakra that Gara and Shikaku remember all too well. Akuma, said Gara while looking at the mask peering out from behind the veiled straw hat the cloaked figure before him was wearing. Gara's eyes narrowed at the Akatsuki clouds adorned on the cloak, along with the ones on the two others with him. 3 more people were standing off on the side, one with a red mohawk, one with black wild hair and a horned headband, and another with brown hair and yellow eyes. Ah yes, it seems I must do the same thing I did to the Reikage as well, said Naruto as he took off the straw hat and absorbed his mask as chakra and smirk as Gara's eyes became wide with shock. Hello my friend. It's been such a long time, smiled Naruto as Gara rose from his chair and began to walk towards him. Gara, what's going on? We felt a wave of demonic chakra, and said Temari as she and Kankuro burst in through the office doors, only to be met by Naruto's cold gaze. Who are you and what are you doing in our brother's office? Demanded Kankuro as he got ready to use his puppets before a raise of Gara's hand stopped him. It's alright Kankuro, Temari. Leave us. But Gara. Kankuro's protest was cut off as Gara gave him the do it or die look, which made both Kankuro and Temari walk straight out of the room like nothing ever happened. So, leader of Akatsuki, what brings you here? Asked Gara, Naruto smirking as his mask reformed just in case someone else walked into the room. I've come here to ask for your assistance. You may have heard the rumors about Takigakure and Otogakure having been wiped out by an unknown shinobi by the name of the Hokage, and Kumogakure becoming allies with him. Well, I'm the Hokage, explained Naruto as Kurama and Akiyuri took off their straw hats and looked at Gara. This is Akiyuri, the last true bearer of the Rinnegan and my second in command. And this here is Kurama, the Kyuubi in human form. Sup? Smirked Kurama, Gara looking back from him to Naruto and back again. After Naruto finished introducing the others to Gara, he opened his mouth a little and closed it again, losing the words he was going to say. Why is it unsealed from you? He asked finally, Naruto smirking as well behind his mask. Well, we can't have a bijou sealed up inside another bijou now, can we? He said, seeing Gara still confused. He explained to his friend how he had undergone intense training and how he had become bijou himself, joining the 9 others as the 10th bijou, the second Kyuubi. Wow. Tell me something, was it you that sent out a wave of chakra that Shikaku and I felt? Asked Gara, Naruto, Katsueki and Kurama's eyes widening before they glanced back at each other. So we weren't the only ones that felt it either, said Kurama, Gara crossing his arms. You mean that you didn't send out that chakra wave? He asked, Naruto nodding. Yeah, and if you and Shikaku felt it, then that must mean the other bijou and their Jinchuriki, if they have one, felt it as well, said Naruto as he turned back to Gara, who now had his serious look on his face. Then if you or the others didn't send it out, who did? Asked Katsueki, the question hanging ominously over their heads. Let's think on it tonight. All this stress is making me tired, said Kurama to try and break the ice. Of course. You can stay in the tower's extra bedrooms, said Gara before he grabbed his gourd and followed Naruto and the others out of his office. -11:00. While everyone was asleep, Naruto was wide awake, unable to sleep about thinking about the strange chakra he had felt. A small wind blew through the open window of his room and his eyes widened, realizing it too late. The only sound heard was Naruto's unconscious body collapsing against the med with a soft thump. Darkness. It was everything, everywhere, pure limbo. Naruto. His eyes snapped open as a single pillar of light shined down onto him like a spotlight. Or where am I? He grunted as he got up off the ground, or whatever was beneath his feet, and looked around with his eyes squinted. Kurama? He asked. No answer. Katsueki? He asked, his voice halfway to a yell, but just like before, no answer. Chomei? He asked a final time. Silence. He looked around again at the darkness before he stepped out of the light and into the darkness. He walked away from the pillar, his form fading into the eternal black around him. Not a single sound, noise, anything coming from it except the sounds of his feet hitting the ground. It seemed like he was walking for an eternity, unable to see anything or touch anything. Suddenly, he saw a light, a small little speck in the distance, a light at the end of the tunnel. Hey, there's Naruto, said Katsueki, Chomei and Kurama turning their heads to see said person walking towards them out of the darkness. Naruto joined the three of them inside the larger pillar of light, noticing Chomei was in her human form. She had light green hair that fell to her waist, a small yellow clip keeping it from falling in front of her field of vision. She had brown, caring eyes and a warm smile, not a single unsightly blemish on her flawless face. She had a light blue long-sleeve combat shirt on and a white skirt to complete her outfit, with tape around her ankles and sandals on as well. "What is this place?" asked Naruto while he looked around once again at the expanse of darkness. "It's a place where we Bijou and our Jinchuriki can talk in peace. No one can get into the place. Not even that man with the evil eyes you had killed could get here." Naruto turned to see two men approaching them, obviously other Bijou. One had long white robes and silver armor resting over them, a shining helmet held under his right arm, and short brown hair with blue eyes and a small smile, while the other had a gruff frown with green eyes and shaggy red hair along with an outfit similar to a Shaolin monk's, the color a darker shade of red. "Koko,